Hey, I'm Nashi.
I'm Rezlar.
And I'm Frosty. Welcome back to the Value Pack.
Hold on, I have to gear check Nash right now. Alright, that is some bull jabber. Dude, he CC'd me out of dance. What's happening? Rezlar!
People look at you like you're crazy, and they refuse to admit that it's pay to win, and just scream that it's pay to convenience! It's pay to convenience!
Big money, big money, big money,
Big money! Oh shit, we got it! We fucking got it! And welcome everybody to another episode of the Value Pack podcast. Today is the day a lot of shit is out on North America EU servers, which means we have a lot of things to discuss. But first and foremost, of course, as always, I want to thank our lovely patrons. Badriana, Britton Clark, Infrax, Hawaiian, Auscultation, I Has Issues, Jeremy Johnson, Lord Carrot, May Knight, Minaria, OG_Killcast, Ponism, Slytech, and Talus X Septum. Thank you guys so much for supporting us, and everybody else who supports us on Patreon and on our individual streams. You guys are the fucking best for doing what you do. Frosty, do you want to lead us into the first topic, since I think you have the most relevant opinions on it?
Sure. So, the Sage is out. The Sage released on Wednesday. I couldn't sleep that night. I was like a little kid. Christmas Eve, you know? And it came out, and I've been playing it I've played it every day for at least a few hours. I did, when we had the server transfer thing, we got reroll coupons. Like the full set the combat and skill EXP reroll coupons. So, unfortunately, my Nova is now level 56. But my Sage is level 62, and I have the entire tree filled out, and I am working towards 63 because it's 63 passive is kind of wild.
What is it?
At level 63, it gets 2% special attack damage.
Ooh.
That is kind of insane.
Yeah, it's kind of good. Yeah, so I've been playing it for a few days, and I've tried PvPing on it. I tried RBF, I tried 1v1, I tried 1v2, I tried to play against Sages a little bit. I tried to 1v2 against 2 Sages as a hash, and so I've tried various ways of playing this class so far. And I want to preface with I am speaking about this class while acknowledging that it is missing at minimum 5 abilities, 2 prime abilities and 3 rebombs, because it did not come with the 2 prime awakening abilities that every class usually gets, probably because the awakening is not out or not done yet. And obviously rebombs. We don't have rebombs. There's also obviously been no balance patches since we were the first server to get it, which this is the first time that's ever happened, where we are literally the beta test. So I don't even know, like, where should I start? Should I start with
Well, I got a question
Should I start
for you.
with playstyle? Yeah.
To start us out, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being like the best, 1 being the worst, how fun is Sage to you?
The class, fun-wise, is like a 7 or an 8. It's actually pretty fun. I think the style of this class is quite fun, which is like, for me to say that, because this class is really slow, is actually, I feel like, means a lot. Because I don't like playing slow classes. But this class is actually pretty fun. The animations are just completely epic and look awesome. And they feel super impactful. And the sound effects on them are really, really cool. Yeah, the entire like style of the class is actually really fun. The movement is pretty fun as well. It can feel slow, but it's unique in that you go into a portal. You create this little portal when you move to the side or forward or back. And then when you're in there, if you don't press anything, it doesn't use any stamina. You go into the portal, you just sit there and chill. But while you're in this little portal for whatever it is, a second, if you can move around, and it uses stamina while you're in there. And on your screen, you see like a little streak to kind of like show like your direction or whatever that you're moving. but on everyone else's screen, you're completely invisible when you're inside that portal. So they don't know. They could see what direction you started the portal, but you can change directions when you're in there. So they don't know exactly where you're going to come out or when you're going to come out. And you can also press any button, LMB, RMB, or a button on your keyboard to come out of the portal instantly. So you don't have to like stay in it for the entire duration. But yeah, it's pretty fun. Outside of that, it doesn't have any other movement abilities. So in the prime version of this skill, it has a 6-second cooldown. It's called Rift Chain. This is the movement. And you can spam it even when it's on cooldown, and it still is an iframe. It's an iframe when you go in, and it's super armor as you come out for like another 0.25 seconds or so. But you can spam it, and the cooldown really, all the cooldown is for is the super armor that it gives. It kind of has the old version of Warrior Valk super armor linger at the end of the skill. So when you iframe every 6 seconds, for 1 second you have super armor. The idea of it is really cool. I don't think currently the implementation is very good because the class skill animations are so slow. It barely really protects you. And what they did with a lot of these skills is they made them either unprotected entirely or protected only in the very, very beginning of the skill, because they're kind of like going with that theme where you start up the skill and then you come out and use the ability. And a lot of the skills are just, the animation's too slow that you actually are not protected for either the very end of the skill, even with that 1 second of super armor, or for most of the skill, like in the case of Shift Q or some of the longer animations. So yeah, that's kind of the theme that they went for. They put not a whole lot of protection on it, but gave it this super armor when you come out of your iframe. I do like that idea. I think it's cool. The only thing is like either the super armor needs to be longer or the cooldown of the iframe needs to be shorter so it happens more often, because here the biggest problem that I find with this theme right now is PvE. You're just mostly unprotected in PvE, and if you try to grind somewhere like Thornwood, it's completely unfun and miserable, like an absolutely miserable experience. You're just going to be stunned the entire time. And unlike, I don't know, something like Kuno that feels relatively unprotected, like even Kuno at Thornwood, you can manage because you can reposition and move, and the mobs have to change directions to attack you. And on here, the repositioning is so slow, and the skill animations are so slow. By the time you get the skill off after repositioning, they still turn around and can hit you. Like I've been grinding Hystria since we got Valencia Castle, and it's kind of awful here. It feels really bad because you get CC'd a lot. Like I can't just do my skill rotation. It's like very unsafe. I almost always get CC'd out of the first ability.
Really?
Yeah, if
That's pretty bad.
if the Bolton like uses their attack, I get CC'd, or the Burmals. It's, I don't know. It's kind of irritating. Or if any of the things like shoot a laser at me, like I'm gonna get CC'd. There's only a couple of protected skills, or a couple parts of skills that are protected. So yeah, that part feels really bad. I do think that they'll do something about that though. I hope. But at places like Secrea or Star's End, where you really don't get CC'd very often, or not much, or at Secrea, in the case of Secrea, where the CCs are relatively telegraphed, it feels pretty good. Like I was able to grind, like my first measured hour at Secrea, I was able to get 5,300 trash. Oh, well, the first day I got like 4,000 trash, and I was like, dude, this doesn't feel good. And then like I kind of figured out the actual skill rotation. I went and I got 5,300 trash, which is average, like maybe the lower end of average, but I'm positive that someone that's better at the class, or is just straight up better at grinding, could do even better than I did. So I feel like Sages could probably get somewhere between 5.3 and 5.7, and that's without 2 prime abilities, without rebombs, and without any balance changes whatsoever. The other mechanic it has that's kind of interesting is one of its passives gives you this, it's called Overdrive, gives you a cast speed buff. Every time you use an ability, iframe, your block, your auto attacks, your skills, it it gives you a stack, and every stack is worth 1% cast speed up to 10 stacks total. When you're just like grinding or playing with it, you basically always have 10 stacks unless like you're sitting there idle and let it fall off, but you almost always have 10 stacks. So you almost always have the 10% cast speed buff. The only problem is that the overdrive kind of works in conjunction with the E buff or the class buff, and what the way the class buff is designed is while it's popped, basically while the class buff is on cooldown, your overdrive feeds into your class buff's cooldown. So every time you get to 10 stacks, the next time you use an ability, it uses all 10 of your stacks and then takes 5 seconds off of your E-buff cooldown. So the E-buff cooldown is whatever, three minutes or whatever it is. Prime optimization is the name of the skill. Every time you get to 10 stacks, you use a skill, it takes 5 seconds off of that cooldown. So that part's kind of nice because you can reduce the cooldown, but the thing that feels bad about it is every time it resets your stack, you lose your cast speed again, and you have to build it back up. And then you lose your cast speed again, you build it back up, and there's no way to like prevent this. I think it would be cool if you had the option to do it, or the option to like, no, I just want to keep my stacks and let the cooldown go like normal. Because I don't know, this class is pretty slow, and I don't think it feels good when you're at sub 10 stacks at all. It just feels way too slow. Like it actually feels kind of like you're slow debuffed when you don't have the 10 stacks.
Yikes. So now they're just natively making you slowed.
Yeah, and then I don't know, like I was having a couple arguments with some people about this. Someone was saying, well, the thing is like you can get the E-buff really, really fast. And it's cool because in like Node War and Siege, you can just like, you pop the E-buff, you can engage, and then you basically have it for every engagement. And it's like, that's kind of true, but the problem is the fastest way to get the E-buff cooldown to reset is to sit there and spam your auto attack, and it still takes about 1.5 minutes to cut the cooldown long enough to even be short. So like if you think the playstyle of like E-buff, engage, and then stand there for 90 seconds auto attacking is actually fun, then yeah, I mean that if that's actually like the design that they're going for, then yeah, I 100% would roll off of this class if that's like, because I just don't think that that's fun at all. And
yeah.
the E-buff also, it gives you, so let me read what the E-buff does. So the E-buff is gives you magic AP plus 30 for 30 seconds, which is nice. It gives you 50% critical hit rate for 30 seconds and 20% critical hit damage for 30 seconds. And then super armor for 15 seconds after you, well, it says while using the skill, and then super armor while using the skill. But you get a super armor buff for 15 seconds that keeps you protected for the first 15 seconds, except that right now it's bugged. And if you use Prime Rift Chain, it'll cancel that super armor immediately. So you can end up being CC'd out of the first 15 seconds anyway. So it's kind of designed, I mean, almost akin to like the Excel version in Nova. Like it feels like this is a little bit built around the E-buff. That part of it I don't really like, and I hope that they don't like full commit to that design choice, because I just don't think that's fun. I mean, like I've heard Rezlar complain about the whole 3-minute class thing. I hear Novas really don't like the way it feels when you're not in Excel and waiting for Excel to be up like that. I just think that style of making your class feel weak for a period of time and then strong for a period of time just doesn't feel as fun as they may think, even though it's like somewhat interesting.
It'd be different, I think, if all classes kind of had that same feel, but they don't.
Yeah.
I'd still on the same boat as you with that, though. I don't think that's really all that fun if you have to rely on your 3-minute cooldowns in order to actually be effective.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, like Rez, you can probably speak to that more. I mean, like how it feels on Q-buff, right? Like I don't know, like if you could just sum that up, that feeling of like, I mean, I do think we'll talk about the awakening skills and some of the potential that it has that they just got, but I don't know, how does Zerker feel like that feeling of you really can only attack every 3 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, if you've watched this show for longer than like a month, I'm sure you've heard me complain about Zerker being a 3-minute class. It's a pretty common complaint for Zerker in large scale that aside from when you have Q buff, you're literally just a worse version of other classes essentially. I think it is slightly better with this new awakening skill, but it still suffers from the same problems as before, just not as hard. But yeah, it's essentially whenever people talk about being a 3-minute class, for anyone who doesn't know what we're referring to, I think the term was first coined by berserkers, whose Q buff allows them to be extremely powerful in large
3-minute god
scale for
mode.
30 seconds, but it has a 3-minute cooldown. And essentially, whenever that it during those 2 minutes and 30 seconds technically of which the skill is on cooldown, your large scale potential just plummets down into the abyss essentially. So for 30 seconds you feel really really powerful and you have a lot of impact on the fight in large scale, and then for 2 minutes and 30 seconds while it's on cooldown and you're waiting for it to come off cooldown, you kind of feel like you're just fucking worthless, and it's a really not fun feeling. And
Yeah.
like you said, no, I think Nova has about the same kind of like issues where like when Excel isn't up, it's kind of like it feels kind of bad. And then when Excel is up, you're like, okay, now I get to actually have fun. And it's just, I don't know, it's not a very fun way
Yeah, I
of
don't think
like
it's
doing
cool.
things.
I think Tamers have dealt with it too forever. Like we're in especially in Siege, where they basically were useless except when they have their 100%, and then they go back to kind of being useless again. It's just not. I don't know. It doesn't feel that good. Like there's most people, not all, but most people would prefer to feel like they're somewhat useful, even if not like the most OP for the entirety of them playing their class, than like, yeah, I just can ult and then I have to die and just wait until someone gives me ult again. So, or the 3-minute thing. So yeah, that I hope they don't go too overboard with that. I'm not a big fan of the whole super armor for 15 seconds thing and then lowering the cooldown of the buff. I don't think it's that cool. That part of it would be powerful. I haven't really got to test it though, because you lose the SA basically immediately if you iframe. So hopefully that bug gets fixed so we can feel how that actually would be. But I do think like Sage engagements with that 15 seconds of super armor will be very powerful. But even here's the other thing with the buff is like it's only for that 15 seconds. Like you're really not going to be feeling powerful for the remainder of the buff duration because you just don't have protection and you're going to be CC'd out of everything. So I hope they find some balance with that as far as like giving protections and not giving protections, specifically in PvE too. It's like, I don't know. No one wants to be CC'd while grinding.
Yeah,
I think
so
that's pretty fair.
what do you think? So, with the mechanic with the super armor on the teleport, how do you think they make that to where it's like a little bit better? Because I think right now it's a little bit underwhelming. Do you think they increase the duration of the super armor or maybe reduce the cooldown on the portal itself?
Um,
Because I was thinking one of two things: either bring the cooldown of the portal itself down to like maybe 3 or 4 seconds, or you could increase the duration of the super armor to maybe like 2.5, maybe even 3 seconds. Was the two things that I was kind of thinking.
yeah, I'm not sure because like if you make it too long, it's gonna feel insanely overpowered. If it's like, I feel
Yeah.
like it needs almost to be like, I don't know how whatever the duration of like most of these skills are, like SF. When you use SF and then you move to the side, I don't know. It's like you still can get popped out of the end of it. So I don't know. Either make the duration long, but the other thing too is like it's very difficult to manage because in a 1v1, there's the similar thing. Why when I talk about Chase on Meiwa and Musa, I always say like in my opinion, an ideal thing to do would be remove the iframe from Chase and put it on an independent cooldown that they can use separately at will, because if this being a 6-second cooldown when you can get that SA limits you on like if someone's being hyper aggressive and you're forced to iframe, like it's very difficult to manage like oh, I'm not gonna, I just have to save my skills for 6 seconds, and then I can try to do a CC attempt, and then I gotta wait again. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I actually think maybe a combination of the two. Like, maybe lower it down to 5 seconds. 5 or 4 seconds, but maybe 5 just to be safe, so it's not like too crazy, and then make the super armor duration last 1.5 seconds, so it actually lasts for the duration of these skills. Like, you can tell they were designed for that. Like, this whole, like, when you press SF, you have forward guard for the first, like, little tick of it, and then it goes away. So you can get forward guard, iframe, and then come out with that iframe cooldown, super armor hit. But the super armor doesn't last long enough for you to be safe for that whole hit. So it's not actually, like, helping you. I don't know, there's like individual skills. I don't know if I should go through them, but there's like individual skills that I really hope get changed in general too, because like Shift Q, which is the vacuum. I think the vacuum on it is really bad. It's like kind of inconsistent and doesn't really serve much purpose. And 2, you're locked in the animation for the whole thing. I just wish so much that they would either make it so you can't like remove the vacuum entirely. It's kind of unnecessary, at least for PvP. And then just like make that skill actually do damage in both PvP and PvE, and or let you cancel out of it at some point instead of being stuck in it for the whole thing. I mean, it's like a 1.5, 2 second animation that you just can't move and it does no damage. So it's kind of strange. The other one is like Realm of Anguish, which is that skill. It's SR and B. You throw it on the ground with the little like triangle, and it's like the coolest animation in the whole game. It looks so epic how it puts like the triangle cube thing in the center, and then it's just like shooting lasers all around. It does nothing. It's like a DP debuff
It does nothing.
And a bound for some reason on hit, which like the bound could be kind of nice for the catch, but the animation is really slow, and once it's up, it doesn't actually do any damage. It says 1025 times 14, but it's like, I don't know, it's like lava pool. Like I think it needs to last a little bit longer and have way more hits, like somewhat similar to lava pool, and then also add like a bleed or pain damage to it. So it actually just kind of chips away, you know? I don't know. Because right now it's not worth casting.
Whenever I saw it, I thought that maybe they should make it kind of similar to Tamer Trap, like give it a lot more hits and give it a stiffen maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be
someone in
awful.
chat just said.
I mean, that
You
would
think
be
so?
that would be good. It would be really solid, but that would just be irritating for everybody
From a
else.
large scale point of view, could you imagine me?
But it has such a long cooldown though, doesn't it? Doesn't
Yeah,
it have like a 15-second cooldown or something?
It's a 20-second cooldown, yeah. But it's like range. Like you can cast this really, really far.
But it doesn't start hitting for like a good like what 2-3 seconds, doesn't it?
Yeah, it takes like a second and a half or two to pop up. Yeah, I mean, if it had stiffness, that'd be cool, but even then, it still would be unusable in PvE. Actually, it'd probably be detrimental in PvE if you're, like, pulling. I don't know, I just think it should do at least as much damage as Toxic Flood or Lava Field. And then it would actually be worth using, because, like, it's one of those things, I don't know if it's just me, but this is one of those skills, like, I look at it when I cast it, and I'm like, dude, this is a really fun skill to use, and it looks so cool. I really want to use this, like, while grinding. I don't want it to be one of those useless skills you never touch, even though it looks badass. Same with Shift Q. Shift Q is, like, one of the coolest animations in the game, and it just, you can't use it. It's not good. But yeah, the Tamer Trap thing, I mean, that would be interesting. It would be really irritating, and I don't think it necessarily needs it. The other thing is like,
because I think that would be pretty helpful because it would allow you to help with like engages onto like groups, especially if you were able to like throw it down early and then like go and cast your unprotected skill inside of it, right? Because it would afford you some minimal amount of protection in that people are going to have to dive into a place where they are likely to get stiffened, essentially, right?
yeah. No, don't get me wrong. Like that, it definitely would be useful. I'm just also saying for PvE, I hope it had.
I'm trying to go for a down smash combo.
I hope it has some damage. For more specifically for PvE, so it's not a waste to use. And then I don't know some of these other skills too. So Shift E, I can't figure out Shift E. Shift E is the strangest skill ever. It is called Gravity Rift. The skill doesn't do damage. It has forward guard only for the very start of it. It doesn't have a CC. And I don't know what its purpose is. It's like a very, very strange skill. And it's very, very slow animation to cast. To do nothing. I don't know. That skill also needs to be looked at. That one feels like just thrown in to me. It's also kind of the same animation as Shift L and B, but doesn't do anything. That skill needs to be like sped up or given some damage or something. So I get like the slowness of these skills. So like SF, the one that everyone called Meteor, which now I can 100% assuredly tell you it is not Meteor. Not even close. Nothing like Meteor. It should never, ever, ever be compared to Meteor. Ever. If you're comparing it to Meteor, you're a terrible person. SF, it's called, what is the name of this one? Spatial Collapse.
It's definitely more like Bull-Eyed.
It's definitely more like Bull-Eyed, except I don't know. Like it does good damage, but it's like it's not safe and it's really slow. Also, the animation looks so cool. It's like
what's funny is the flow to that skill, I would say, is more like Meteor than that skill itself.
Yeah, except that the flow has no protection.
Yeah, but I'm just mean because at least the flow is ranged.
Yeah, at least the flow has some range.
SF isn't even like really that ranged at all.
Yeah, the flow is really cool on this skill too. Like the animation of it is cool. The shooting from the ground. But you know, like so these skills like SF, the flow to SF, SE, which is the fist, the charge up, and then the fist that hits the ground. Even Shift R and B to some extent, the void gateways. I understand the slowness of those abilities for sure. I don't really understand why Shift L and B, Shift F, and F all feel really slow. Like they're really slow. F is okay actually, but Shift F and Shift L and B and Shift E all feel really slow for just no reason. Like, well, we made this class slow, so these have to be really slow. But I really don't think that these should be slow. I think they're slow for no reason. And there's not really any way to speed them up. And a lot of these ones too is like you can cancel, like you can start Shift F and then iframe and then hold F and use the flow. But I don't know, it's not like particularly good. Like you're still kind of better off just using SF or SE. The other kind of interesting skill is the Atomagia, which is the flow to Ator's energy. So SL and B is Ator's energy, and the flow is when you hold R and B. This skill is kind of interesting and kind of cool, but it's difficult to make it actually do the damage. So this is the skill that does more damage depending on how many mobs or players are near you. So if you use it in a 1v1, it doesn't do any damage. If you use it in a 1v10, it actually hits pretty hard. It's also super armor bound, which is very nice. It's a 40-second cooldown, but this skill is really cool because it has a lot of different ways to like actually use it. Because you can start Ator's energy, iframe to the side, hold L and B to finish Ator's energy, and then press R and B to use the bound. Or you can start Ator's energy, iframe to the side, and then just press R and B, and it'll use like I guess a combination of the two, or just Atomagia. I think it's just Atomagia. So that's kind of cool and interesting. That's really fun how they did that skill, I think. Yeah, I don't know. So the other thing too that I think makes this class really tough in fighting with people is like every CC is a bound or a knockdown, and adamantines exist. So the knockdowns would be fantastic, except adamantines exist, and then the bounds are like okay, except because the class is so slow, it's really, 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 really difficult to capitalize on a bound unless you put yourself at risk and just assume you were going to land the bound. Like it's very difficult, especially if you land range. Like, so the flow to SF, right? That flow, like, even though it has a ton of range, but like just the time it takes to iframe over and then use an ability to like re-CC, they almost always get up in time. So it's very difficult to use. I don't know. It feels like really difficult to actually capitalize on CCs with this class. I kind of wish F, which is Ator's Fist, that's the punch forward. I kind of wish that was a float. I kind of wish I think SE makes sense as a bound. That one should stay a bound, the one where the fist punches the ground. I kind of wish SF was a float instead, or a stun. A stun would be fine. SF would make sense kind of as a stun. You could actually like capitalize and re-CC off of a stun. Yeah, I don't know. Like those are kind of the things that I would hope for. This also has a skill called Reset. The skill Reset, it's a 10-minute cooldown and just instantly resets all of your cooldowns on your entire tree on everything except for Emergency Escape. So you can reset your E-buff or reset Automagia. This one also feels a little bit like they threw it in for fun because it's kind of a cool idea, but I don't think it's super useful because the only skill with a long cooldown is Automagia and the E-buff. So I don't know. It's kind of like, I guess, every 10 minutes you can use your E-buff back to back. Automagia is like, I don't think people are really like sitting there waiting for Automagia. It's not like that amazing of a skill. So there's that. Void Gateways, Shift R&B. This skill on paper is epic. In PvE, I don't actually think it's worth using. I could not get it to work in my rotation at Secrea or Star's End. And then at other spots where they have a lot of CCs, like Orc Camp or Bloody Monastery or Thornwood, like you can't cast the ability. You get CC'd out of it. And then the damage isn't really worth the time. In my opinion. Maybe some other sages think that skill works out pretty well, but I don't know, it looks cool, but it doesn't really do that much. And then in PvP, it hits like a freaking truck. But again, it's so slow, you can't use it after a bound. You can only use it if you start it immediately after a float or a knockdown. So it's kind of tough to use that skill, but it looks very cool. And it has a weird hitbox because the range on it is actually quite short, but it hits behind you pretty far for some reason, even though it doesn't look like it would, because it looks like beams that jut forward, but it hits really far behind you. I almost feel like they should move that hitbox like forward so it doesn't hit behind you and just hits a little bit further in front of you.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too, actually. I was kind of shocked that it didn't go as far as I thought it would, and then also that it was hitting behind me.
Yeah.
Because it looks like you kind of look at it and you think it should go like pretty far out, especially considering how long it takes to cast and it is unprotected and yada yada. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and thanks for the reminder, Bloom. You also, the class doesn't have a stun in its kit, so you cannot stop the wizards from channeling their incantation at Orc Camp. There's not a single stun in the kit.
That's pretty bad.
Which I don't know if that's by design or mistake or just an oversight, but a good chance for you to use SF as a stun. Just saying. Turn SF from a bound to a stun would be kind of cool. Yeah, but outside of that, that's kind of my thoughts. I think like the design of it is actually really cool. It is pretty fun to use. The animations and the sound effects are epic. Like really, really epic. Demoing them now. Turning these up. Yeah, but they sound cool. The animations look cool. It actually also looks not bad in lowest optimal, which I know sounds weird. But I changed my graphics because I don't really. I was like playing for 3 days. I was like, oh, I just realized I've never seen what this class looks like in lowest optimal. But the skills like still look like decent in low and optimal. Like they did a really good job with the animations in lowest optimal. And the other thing I'll say, yeah, they look good. They're not just like black lines. They're like actually still have detail to them.
I was actually pretty surprised that it looked pretty decent still on lowest. There's a lot of skills on low. Whenever you have like effects off and opacity down and all that stuff, it kind of looks, I don't know, like nothing.
Mhm.
But they're actually, because of the actual things that they did with the weapon itself, it actually still is pretty visually interesting when you're actually using abilities because the weapon is actually moving around and shifting and changing form and things like that.
Yeah. The other thing too is, and this is just my personal experience, everyone else may be different, but I feel like the optimization as far as in-game of the performance of these abilities like is really nice. If I jump into a ball of wizards and witches, like I'll get frame drops pretty bad, especially if Blizzard is being used. But when I jump into RBF and I'm using this class with all effects on, and I jump into like 3 other sages that are spamming abilities, like it is buttery smooth. Like it does not negatively affect my frames like at all.
That's good.
Yeah. They did like a really good job with the animation. I felt that way too about Nova, because I was like, dude, this ice, like right when I saw the Nova succession animations, I was like, oh my god, I was just thinking of Blizzard. I was like, I'm about to just lose everything. I'm gonna have no frames now because all these Novas are gonna be using ice, and then the Nova ones are also like super optimized, I think. Yeah, these skill animations are epic, dude. And remastered, it's just like, it's kind of absurd. They look so good. This class is actually kind of fun to grind in. I think you have to grind in remastered on this class if you can. It's just so good.
You wouldn't be doing yourself justice otherwise.
Yeah. Dude, it looks epic. Cindy saying Shifty would make a great son. Don't take SF, dude. SF.
when I was dueling people randomly that were playing Sage, I was just getting punched in the side by other random Sages. It just looks so fucking funny.
Yeah. SF, I don't think SF is good as a bound. I think it's a shit bound. I mean, SF, I feel like a stun would just make it so much nicer. You could actually re-CC someone that's like stunned. It'd be great. Get some air attack. Have time to cast an ability. Dude, you could also stun a group. Oh, it'd be fat, dude.
What if they put a stun?
Potential.
I mean, even a knockdown or a float, just I don't know. What?
What if they put a cooldown on the spear and put a stun on the spear?
Dude, the spear is weird. Yeah, that could be okay. The spear feels terrible to cast though. The thing is when
not if you cast it right out of the TP. It goes pretty quick if you do it right out of the portal.
Yeah. But here's my problem with the spear. So one, even out of the portal, it's still kind of slow because you have like the recoil afterwards. Like makes it so you can't like move that quick, but it does cast it a lot faster. Yeah, this spear is weird, man. Like I thought that the pulling was gonna feel really good because of this spear, but it really doesn't. It's like mostly single target. It kind of will hit a group if they're really, really bunched up. But it also like, because you have to move with Rift Chain, it feels really, really, really bad. I don't know. It feels really bad to throw the spear and it moves you that far forward and then you have to reposition with Rift Chain again. I don't know. I don't like the spear at all. I don't know. I wish the spear would just get changed in general. I also don't know why it costs stamina. Or why it has that slow on it.
It's a movement type ability, probably.
It is not a movement ability. It juts you forward like if you press W for a half second.
I was really surprised at how little mana the class takes, honestly.
How much mana? Oh yeah, the sustain is not there. I always forget. Thanks for reminding me. I always forget because I have the infinite pots always set to max, but I turned them down because a lot of people were asking about that. So I was like grinding with it down. There's no sustain. Like you get WP back for Shift LMB, which is okay. Although Shift LMB is not very good in PvE. So if you don't need the mana, Shift LMB is not really worth casting. There's better skills. But if you do need the mana, you do get it back. And then HP, Shifty is the only ability that gives you HP back, and it's 10 per hit. So it's really bad on only 6 hits. So it's like, yeah, you just don't get, there's no sustain on this class whatsoever. It feels really bad.
Didn't Nova had sustain issues when it first came out?
Yes, it did. And it got fixed a lot. Which, yeah, that's the thing. Is like, I'm pretty sure they'll add more sustain. I would be shocked if they didn't, because they usually do. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my rundown. It is funny in retrospect to think about a week ago when this class got revealed and everyone was saying that it looked like Meteor. I had seen more than once in multiple places, Discord, Reddit, that quote PA, instead of fixing Wiz Witch, Suck Wiz Witch, they're instead going to release a more powerful Wiz Witch. That is not where this is at all.
Well, not yet. That's what they're gonna say. Give it time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and its current state is definitely not.
It's
up to that
slower.
task.
The damage is similar. You could argue the damage is similar, but it's significantly slower. Its movement is slower. Its ability cast times are way slower. It actually has to manage stamina, which Wiz does not. Wiz does not have to manage stamina in any sense. There's not really a lot of range at all. Like the flow to SF is ranged. SR&B has a little bit of range, and the spear chucking and the auto attacks have some range. But you're not killing people from range with this class. So it has no range and it has no protection. And also just as a fun little bonus item.
It has no utility.
Well, yes, but I was going to say as a fun bonus item, not only does Wiz Witch have range, but a lot of their range is also protected.
Yeah, there's that.
And
We
yeah, it
don't
has
talk
no
about
utility. This is not a support class in any way. There's no heals. There's no buffs for your party members. There's nothing support-wise.
No bubble, bullshit desync.
There's no bubble. There is a single vacuum, but it's a very bad vacuum that's very short, and it's in a long animation that's unprotected. So it's not a vacuum you will see much in large scale, maybe in 1v1s, but it's kind of a death trap for yourself. Yeah, and it doesn't really have any support. It doesn't do anything that's going to benefit the people around you. It's a very just straight up damage dealing class, which I think is fine. It doesn't need to be support or anything like that at all. I don't think it needs that stuff. I'm just pointing out the differences between this and that class. So a lot of people still compare. I had someone telling me yesterday that it's literally a more powerful Suck Wiz Witch. It's just waiting for the balance change. I'm like, you have to just not understand the game to feel that way. I think I don't know how you could feel that way. Like if a wizard is a 10 on a scale of like just its overall kit and power, and the sage is like a 4 or a 3 in comparison.
I would not be surprised at all though if post changes this did end up just being a better version of Awakened, like Witch and Wizard.
Yeah, I
At
could
least
possibly
in terms
see
of its
that.
damage output in large scale, maybe you can make an argument that because of the heals and PA that Witch and Wizard are still more valuable in large scale.
Yeah.
But certainly with the damage output and the AoEs.
I mean, yeah, maybe. Right now it's worse than both. I think.
Yeah.
But
I think it's gonna go through a lot of changes.
It will, for sure. I don't know. What do you guys like? Everyone talks about this whenever a new class comes out, and I really do think it's a problem. This whole slow excel decel thing on characters just feels bad, and I wish they would stop doing it. Where
like your character takes a second to come to a stop.
Yeah, and takes a second to start walking, like when you press the button. It feels really bad. Like nobody likes it.
I think they started doing that with Archer, and it's like, yeah, it's really awful. Yeah, and it's so jarring if you play a class that has that and you play a class that doesn't have that. It's like so jarring to go back and forth between them.
Yeah. No, it doesn't feel good at all. I don't think anyone, like, it's like the first thing everyone notices. I see it on Reddit every time. Like when Nova came out, like all the people that are playing, like, does anyone notice there's this weird like input latency when I press the buttons to walk, and it takes forever for my character to stop moving. Kinetic like energy just doesn't end. It's annoying. And then the other thing is like like now on Sage, like a different group of people are trying Sage out, and they're like, does anyone notice this weird slow acceleration, deceleration? Like it happens like every time. Like nobody likes this slow accel decel thing. Like
It wouldn't
it
be
doesn't
as
feel
much
good.
of a problem if it wasn't for the fact that there are several things that you can't do while you're like coming to
Yeah.
a stop.
You can't pull your tent out. You can't change your items at Hadum. Like all sorts of things. It just stops
Yeah.
you from being able to do because your character still counts as moving.
Yeah, if they got rid of that part of it, it wouldn't be that bad. I think there are still situations where it would be kind of irritating, but it really wouldn't be that bad. It's the fact that it prevents you from doing certain things that's like really frustrating.
Yeah. I don't know. Uh, dude, I like the color scheme too. I like the kind of like yellow, purple, and blue. And I like that the hitboxes, when you actually like hit mobs, they're like this really, really deep blue, almost violet. That looks kind of sick. I know not everyone plays with their hit effects on, but the hit effects where like mobs like light up a certain color, I feel like is one of the cool things in this game. I think it's kind of cool the way it looks. And on this class, it looks super cool. I'm used to kind of the ugly orange color that Hash has, or Kuno is like this weird pinkish. That's like not really pink. So this one being blue looks really nice. Yeah, I don't know. Nayashi, can you talk a little bit about your experience fighting against sages?
There really isn't much to it. Don't try to trade their abilities so far, at least with my DP. Um, the the movement is very tricky to follow at first because they obviously just disappear from any sense of direction you can imagine them going. Because, like you said earlier, they enter going in quote unquote one direction, but they can freely move around to a totally different direction, thus juking you essentially. So it's kind of aids the track. Um, but overall, I think like they're mostly slower than like say Suck Wizard's movement. They can just constantly pressure you and whatnot. I don't get that sense of pressure from a Sage. So I can be a little bit more, I guess, conservative in my fight and try to watch what they're doing a lot easier.
Yeah.
Um, and not really have to worry about pressuring or being out pressured as much. I mean, mind you, I've only had a handful of experiences. This class literally came out half a week ago.
Yeah.
No one's had an opportunity to really truly get the class down. So I'm
Yeah.
sure someone's going to develop a play style that's going to change all those aspects, maybe, and also depending on what kind of changes they do to the class for balancing purposes or updates in general. So, I mean, there's a long road ahead before we can actually truly know what's going to end up happening in the end result. But as it currently stands, it's definitely not really too bad to deal with. Just don't try to trade their damage if you know they have more gear than you. That's my main thing so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't 1v1'd any sages yet, but I did fight several in a GVG, and man, they're just really easy to CC.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you because I'm taking my wizard to GVGs, right, in the name of Nerf Suck Wizard. And the amount of times that they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna pop up behind this group and cast this super big spell," and then I'm just like, "Fireball, no."
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like once you see it, like anytime you see them come out, you can CC them. Currently, that's what was happening when I was dueling a Musa. It was like the first few fights, they're like, "Dude, what the hell?" And then after a short time, they're like, "Oh, okay, I'm just gonna stub arrow every time you come out of your movement and you're CC'd."
Yeah, pretty much.
Another thing that's like rough on this class. So one, like this, it uses a lot of stamina, which I think is okay. It's not like a bad thing. But the block prevents your stamina from recovering, and I do not know why. It makes 0 sense to me. Like the block is traditionally what you use to get your stamina back, and it's not like a particularly powerful block. It's very basic. So I find it very strange that I can't recover stamina in my block.
It has a cool visual graphic to it, though.
It has dude, it's such a cool, like that's one of the things that I love about the design is like how the weapon kind of expands out to be part of the abilities.
Yeah.
Looks really cool because you also see the weapon, like it changes with when you dye it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you like see the diamond, like if I dye the cube red, you see the red like diamond in the abilities, like where the weapon
Oh,
is.
they'll fix that. Don't worry.
What do you mean?
Didn't they? There was the thing with the Black Star weapons. You could dye them and whatnot. I guess that's not technically the same thing.
I don't know. No, I think this is by design on purpose. It's not like the
Yeah, I'm pretty
skills
sure it
change
is.
colors. It's just the weapon within the skills changes colors because the weapon is like in all of your abilities in some aspect or another.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's not like Witch and Wizard orbs where they just like vanish whenever you cast a skill.
It's
Is it
so
the
hard to
orbs do?
track a sage. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Witch Wizard orbs, whenever you cast abilities, they just vanish. So like you'll have your orbs as a awakened wizard, and then you'll use Bull-Eyed, and it's either that they just kind of like spin around you meaninglessly, or they disappear completely. They don't actually go and like be any part of the animation itself.
I still do wish the cube was like 20% larger when floating around the character, so it looked a little bit less like the Wizard and Witch awakening weapons. What's the other
I
thing?
wish whenever you sat long enough, like sat still long enough for Sage, he would enlarge the cube to be the size of like a good sized box and then sit down on it. I don't know why, but I think that would be super cool if he just like was chilling on the cube while you're AFK.
So what do you guys think for I mean it's gonna get those prime skills, right? Like those two next to the buff, it has to.
Yeah.
Okay. Because like I don't know, I'm sitting here like, dude, is there a chance? Because I know when Nova Awakening came out, everyone was like, dude, that's kind of not a very full awaken kit. Like maybe there's more. Because remember there's that Nova key, and everyone's like, oh, there's probably more skills that you can unlock later. And then they never came out. So I'm like, dude, I hope there's actually these two prime skills, or this kit feels really bare bones.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed, you can use the mini map to track a sage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's not like an invisibility, like say Sork or Ninja when their movement is invisible.
Yeah.
You can actually track them in the mini map. So it's a trick for those interested. So I mean, it's kind of annoying to have to constantly look at the mini map, but if you get good with it, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's some. Sometimes you can see like debuffs or buffs on them when they're moving, as well. So it kind of helps you track them.
Yeah, so if they charge up their ability, if they charge up an ability and then move, it's fine. Like you can actually see it. They get these two like balls or whatever, like on their hands. But if they don't charge up their abilities, then yeah, they're just invisible.
Zoom
Man,
in on my mini map when I fight one.
there are some matchups on this class that they do not feel good, dude. Oh, Sork is one of them.
Yeah, if you follow the mini map, it's really cheese. It's actually much easier.
Yeah. I don't know.
They can't move. Can't move without me being right on their ass.
Are you fighting a Sage right now?
I'm fighting one right now, yeah. I mean, mind you, he doesn't really have that much gear, but I'm mostly just for showing the minimap tracking.
So, what do you guys think? What are you guys assuming the awakening is gonna be?
Dude, I think it's gonna be a bigger chain. You know, you gotta have that bling bling around the neck. I don't know. It's a good question. Like, what do you actually give the guy that apparently designs his own weapons?
Right?
It's a little confusing. I mean, he supposedly designed the ultimate weapon, which is his necklace. So what comes after that? I think a bracelet. Maybe he needs a bracelet. That's what he needs.
I wouldn't be surprised if they leaned more into the physicality aspect of him.
The sage is gonna have a telescope. He is an astro. Wait, wasn't he an astrophysicist or whatever? What was their story with him?
Not entirely sure. I think they're gonna go more with like the whole like physical, like how some of the animations have like the big fucking fist. Like I think they're
Mhm.
gonna turn him into a bit of a fighter.
That's what I think too. I think they're gonna go with a fighter thing.
Because he's fucking jacked, by the way. Can we talk about that for a second?
He's ripped, dude. He's huge and ripped.
Like
Astrologist.
he's the second tallest playable like character. Like aside from Giant, who isn't human, and like Sage is. So he's the tallest human. And he's fucking huge. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna go with a more like his succession is like the castery type, like you use your necklace like cube thing to like crush your enemies with your magic, and then the awakening is gonna be more like you just fucking obliterate people with like enhanced physical prowess.
I can see it.
So it's like he finds some way, I don't know how, but he finds some way to like boost his physical capabilities, essentially, to where it's almost like he has a fucking goddamn JoJo stand.
You know how when he blocks it, it shows his weapon as like that, kind of like the triangles, the 3 triangles in front of him, or 3 diamonds. I mean,
Yeah.
I was thinking, what if like he just empowers himself, and when he's in awakening, like that thing is just literally around him, and he's hovering like an inch or 2 off the ground, and it's just like spinning around him. Like, you know how I'm trying to see one of these animations that like kind of does that animation that I'm talking about. I don't know, like, oh, like SF. So when you start SF, you kind of see the triangle spinning, like 360 degrees, like horizontally. Like that would be. What if he's just floating around, dude? That would be epic. He's like an Archon in Diablo or StarCraft. You know,
See
he
that?
actually awakens, like the definition of it.
He fucking just absorbs the black spirit. Just becomes an archon. Is that what your thing is?
Yeah, dude. I'd be down. Were you guys surprised that the offhand was a talisman?
No.
What if that is his awakening? Is that he actually like lore wise he defeats the black spirit and then like the black
Eats him.
spirit's power becomes like a part of him or some shit like that?
Probably.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty neat.
That'd be pretty cool. Dude, he feels so awful to fight against a Sork with. It's just, oh my god, dude.
That bad, huh?
Oh, it feels so bad. It feels so bad against a Sork. Like any class that like they can just instant react and use the CC like right when you come out, it's just, it feels really bad. I'm watching a wizard that's fighting the same Sork that I fight, and he just AoE bounds with full take. And it works.
Yeah, right now, I can just literally track him with a mini map, and it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
This class definitely needs some improvements for sure. That being said, I said the same thing with Guardian being slow, and then it became an actual fucking monster. So don't buff this class.
But Guardian didn't need a bunch of buffs to become a monster. Like, it already was there.
Yeah, but it did get a lot of buffs and became an even more ridiculous thing.
I don't think it got that many
Because I
buffs.
remember my my critiques on it before. I'm like, this class is so slow. Its major perk is it slows you down to be as slow as it. And then
They did. I do remember they sped up Guardian a lot, but I don't remember if that was on GLabs or on our server.
Well, they gave it like the connection stuff, but it wasn't like they buffed the damage or like sped much up, honestly. Dude, also like the other thing too is like you have to recover stamina, you have to S block. And the S block CCs you. Like if someone hits your S block, it's over. If someone hits your S block, you get not only block locked but also stamina locked.
That feels bad.
Can we remove block lock, by the way? Is that a thing we can do?
Well, Warrior can fucking cancel out of theirs, no problem. I mean, some classes can cancel out, but yeah, block lock in general is definitely an issue for some classes.
It gets really annoying in Zerker PvP when I'm trying to do Frenzied Destroyer, and instead I'm locked in a block animation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So far, cool animations. Not impressed with the PvP though.
You're not impressed with the PvP.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll get there. I don't feel
What are
like
you talking about, dude? This is a better Succession Wizard.
Dude, I do feel better about the start of this class than I did about the start of Nova. Like, because the Nova is like, well, now you gotta like, I don't know, like Nova, this class just feels a little bit better to me. Oh shit. Dude, I'm fighting Sorks, it's hard, dude. I'm just gonna int. I'm going, nope. Unprotected inting. It's all unprotected.
You know, they should just like nerf Suck Wizard to be Sage mode, and you know, everyone will be happy.
Hey, dude, I just won 3 in a row. I'm so good. Sage is busted. Oh no,
Literal
meteor!
God.
Alright, what do I do against a wizard? Here we go. This is gonna be rough, dude. Maybe I can counterbound him, you know? He'll never be ready for it. Oh yeah, Blizzard slows my frame rate, I forgot.
So is that all for Sage, or
Yeah,
we
I
can
think
That's all
move
for
on?
now.
I think so. I mean, do you think we'll get a...
When did they said we were gonna get it 4 weeks later? Awakening?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
They said approximately 4 weeks, yeah.
I'll say this: their AOE range is considerable.
Yeah. Their AoE size is nice. Oh. For sure. I was gonna say, because we got the class before everyone, right? So do you think that we'll get a patch to change some of the stuff this week? Oh, let me go real quick. A list of the bugs. Bug number 1 is obviously the ebuff thing. Bug number 2, well, this one's not a bug. This one's more quality of life. The super armor that you get from the iframe and from the ebuff needs to go in the protection icon area as well. It's only on your buff bar, which is really confusing. That needs to also be there, in my opinion. I don't know. Oh god. Dude, if when this class gets resisted, it's over. Like you just automatically lose. You're so slow. That needs to be on the buff bar. I also think that they need to put the other bug. Sorry, the other bug is the if you die while charging a skill, when you res up, the next time you iframe, it'll use that skill. Like, so if I press SF and I go into my iframe, come out and immediately die, or if I charge up and die before I go into the iframe, I can res up and then iframe forward and it'll release that skill. Like it's still in charge. Just kind of weird. Kind of hard to deal with. And awkward and not supposed to happen. Yeah, I kind of hope it gets a couple more flows too. It really only has 4 and only I guess they're all fairly useful, but I don't know. Just, you know. A lot of people say this class feels really good, like the speed when you're E-buffed like that, or Z-buffed, like that's where the speed should be. It's funny because like this class is actually so slow that when I am Z-buffed, it like
feels normal.
Yeah, well, I mean, it feels pretty fast Z-buffed. It's probably too fast Z-buffed, but if it was like 10% faster, I think would feel all right.
Yeah.
As long as they don't buff any damage as well. Like either, well, I don't know. It's like its damage is okay. Dude, the other thing too is like it has accuracy. I always hear like, well, it can shred a striker because it's got so much accuracy. It's like, well, the accuracy buff is on Shift LMB and it lasts 10 seconds, which is great, but Shift LMB is really slow. You can't cancel any part of it. It's not protected. And well, let me just make sure I have this right. I believe it also I don't have the skill icons memorized. It also does not have a CC on it. So it's an unprotected damage dealing ability that's kind of moderate to low damage, that's really slow, no cancels, that you're really not ever going to actually have up in a fight. Like if you're actually fighting a striker, you're not going to have that accuracy buff up. It's not worth using in a combo. Now, if they did something like some of these flows, like if they did something where I could use an ability and then use any of the flows after by holding a button, that would actually make some of these flows feel a lot better. Like if you know the flow res to SF? Like if I could go like shift RMB and then F, or shift LMB and then F, like something else, and then use the flow to a different skill, that would actually feel pretty decent. But
yeah, I could see that.
Or let you just hotbar some of these skills, I guess. I don't know. Make them independent. What do you think of the little dash thing? We haven't talked about that. I find it so odd that that's like your hardest hitting skill in PvE is prime form shift and prime or flow form recall, where you like dash forward, hold RB and dash back. Yeah, it's like legit your hardest hitting damage in PvE. Like
reminds me of Path of Exile with one of those skills in Path of Exile. You could do a build around that, just dashing through the mobs to kill them.
I think it's pretty cool that you can separate them. I think that's a pretty cool thing that you can do.
Yeah, that part is cool. Although it does feel weird in order to cast the second one separately, you still press forward RB, but it makes you go backwards.
Go backwards, yeah. It's kind of disorienting whenever you first start doing it. You're like, wait, what the fuck?
I forgot the last bug. The last level of Prime Ancient Wisdom, which is the passive, the Prime passive, doesn't have anything in it. It costs 10 points and it has no stats in there. I'm sure there is a stat. Maybe it's just a tooltip error, but there's actually nothing in there. It's like, yeah, it's just blank. It probably is 2 magic AP if I had to guess, but whatever it is, I can't tell. Doesn't say. Does not say. Rez, if this class, once it's just the succession version, since we don't know what the awakening is, once it's out, is this something you would consider maining? or tagging?
He walked out on that question.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
No.
Maybe.
Was that a door?
Yeah, that was the wind blew my door shut.
I was like, the timing on that. He's like, yeah, fuck that question. I'm out.
Probably not. The thing is like I know this is gonna sound funny coming from me, because I've played all the casters. I'm not really a caster person,
Right.
actually. I don't actually enjoy playing casters in MMOs, generally speaking. And this is why my first character I played was a berserker, and my second character I played was a warrior. So I don't know. I'm not really that interested in it. I'm interested to see what they do for the awakening. If they do go a more like physical enhancement type route, that I
Mhm.
kind of think and hope they will, then possibly. But this succession doesn't really interest me all that much, really.
If they do make this a fighter, though, like let's just say that theory is right, since he does have a lot of muscles, is it gonna feel weird him being a fighter and then like your pre-awakening is this stuff? Like, does this even fit that?
Does Nova's awakening fit its pre-awakening?
No, but that's the only class that's really true.
And that's also the last class that was released, so maybe this is the new direction they're going in with their class designs.
Yeah, maybe they're just trying to make Succession an entirely different class than Awakening.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but neither does Nova, but they still did it that way. So, I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think of the outfit? I actually think it's kind of sick.
Um, I don't know. It's all right.
You don't like it?
I feel like the armor is fine, but they got really lazy with the helmet, I feel like. Kind
Oh
of wish
yeah.
it was more than just a fucking faceplate type thing.
Yeah, the helmet's bad. I like the armor. I didn't realize there were two different outfits, and I accidentally bought the one where when you remove the cape, it just takes his shirt off but leaves his cape on, which sucks. I don't want to remove his shirt. I wanted to remove his cape.
Oh no.
It would be cool if you did like the visor down thing on the helmet and it turned it into Magneto's helmet and covered your whole head.
Yeah, that would be mildly interesting. I don't know. I'm always more of a fan of covering the face on like armor type classes. So if it had a helmet but with an open face, I think that would be kind of strange.
But it would keep Professor X out of his head.
It would. It would do that. You're not wrong.
Cinny says, trust me, you don't want to remove the cape and just have his offhand strings hanging down. Yeah, those strings are his talisman. And a lot of people don't realize that. That's not part of his cape or the costume. That's actually his talisman. That's the talisman skin. His talisman, I kind of think it looks all right though. I don't hate the little tail thingy. Let me make it white. Hold on, let's see. Maybe I should make his cape white. Now I'm just gonna spend time dyeing his outfit.
Good lord. I'm just using Grunel. I think it looks fine on him.
Yeah, I gotta do the quest.
But also, I'm not like maining him, so if I was maining him, I'd be much more likely to buy an outfit for him.
Dude, he looks kind of cool with a white cape. Reminds me of like the different version of Marth in Smash Brothers. Alright, it doesn't look that cool. I take it back. I don't like this white cape. Maybe I can make it gray. No, that gray looks bad. Dark gray? Why does that make it look brown though? Oh, okay, it looks cool in game. I don't know. Yeah, so I think he's cool. He's more fun to me than I expected, considering I knew just from the little bit that he was probably going to be pretty slow.
Yeah.
I do hope they speed him up a little bit, because slow is very niche. way more people prefer fast, or at least faster. Like, no, it doesn't need to be Ninja Kuno Sork, but is it too much to ask to make it like, I don't know, like Awakened Mystic or something? Like,
Yes.
I don't think classes need to be that slow. I don't know why they're so slow. It doesn't need to be Wizard, Witch fast, but I don't know, Awakened DK or Mystic. I don't know, what's like a moderate speed class? I feel like Awakened Mystic is the closest to like the middle. Or it's not like
I think non-speed spell Witch and Wizard is probably where it could sit at a reasonable point.
Awaken or Suck?
Awaken.
That's so slow though, dude. It already
It's
feels
still
like
faster than what you have right now.
that. Yeah. Isn't? I haven't played Wiz
Yeah.
Witch in so long. I feel like witches are faster, like Detonative Flow. I don't know, like some of the quick burst skills are pretty quick on Witch, I feel like Fisher Wave and all the little ones.
No, Fisher Wave takes a second because you have the flow which auto connects now. You no longer get to choose whether to do it or not.
Yeah, and Voltaic's fairly fast too. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, those are faster than this for sure. That's true. Okay, so this would feel yeah, I guess like if it felt closer to that, wouldn't be as bad. This has better movement though. Like that's the thing is like I think the movement is really good on this class. Like you don't need to change anything with the movement at all. Like whereas like when Nova first came out, Suck and Awaken, you're like, dude, is this the movement? Because this doesn't feel that good. Like Nova Awakening does, but without the iframe, it felt kind of bad. And then I don't know. But Suck I still think Suck movement feels really terrible on Nova. Like this feels better than Suck Nova. Oh, I did want to point out too, one thing that kind of is irritating me. They demoed and showed off and bragged about how you can move through objects with Rift Chain, the iframe. Dude, it has collision when it's not on cooldown. So you can't reposition in PvE at all. It's like every other skill ignores collision when you move backwards or to the sides and only has collision when you move forward, except for this one that was demoed as not having collision. It has collision, and it's actually really irritating. It's like super hard to get through mobs when it's on cooldown, and it feels really bad. I kind of hate it. Like, let me have no collision when I move backwards at the very least, so I can reposition in mobs. It feels terrible. I don't
think
like that
the
at all.
issue is that you can freely move once you're inside the portal, right? So you can cast it backwards to get the no collision and then just move forwards.
Yeah, but you can also just, on every other class, you just turn your camera around and cast backwards, and you technically move forward.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they should just remove collision. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, both like balance wise and like lore wise, especially that it has collision on it.
Yeah, someone points out he can't even sprint. He can sprint right when you're out of stamina for about half a second. If you lock your movement skills, you can sprint or put your weapons away, okay? Yeah, he can't sprint. That's true. That's actually kind of funny. I don't know. Yeah, so the Sage, kind of cool. I could see Meiwa maining it, but I'm gonna hold out. It's gonna be hard because what we're about to talk about the new awakening skills, and I really, really, really want to try some of them. So
Same.
I am withholding
Same.
temptation. I'm trying so hard to not retag because it's just so incredibly expensive for me to tag. I'm trying not to tag, but I really want to try some of these other awakening skills so badly. In particular, the Sork skill looks super fun and strong and OP and really strong. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I'm gonna try to hold out till awakening, but I hope it's not actually 4 weeks like they said. I hope it's sooner than that. All right, you want to talk about the new awakening skills?
Sure, I can bring this in here. So for anyone who doesn't know, over the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks, probably more like 4 weeks, on Global Labs, they've been giving every single class's awakening kit one extra skill. It varies on how useful this is. For some classes, it's extremely useful. For other classes, it is basically useless. Just kind of depends. I think for most classes, they feel like it's a good addition to the kit while not necessarily fixing their perceived problems of what their kit has, but nonetheless is a good addition to what was already previously existing. Um so what are the classes that you've messed around with, Frosty? Because I've pretty much only messed around with one, and then I've seen two more that I'm like interested in.
I spent a lot of time on Global Labs messing with them before they came out, and they've changed like a lot since then. So the ones I've experienced since the patch are Sork, Warrior, Tamer, Ninja, Kuno, Ranger, Zerker, Guardian. Most of the classes, I would say, actually, now that I think about it. So I probably shouldn't just list every class. I had at least every class test their damage and like show me some of the flows like in person, so I could just see how it works, and then ask their opinion on it in PvP and PvE. So yeah, where do you want to start? Which ones do you think are pretty good so far?
Well, I guess we can start with the most broken, which you were just talking about. Uh, Sork, it seems to be insane. Just taking the ability on its own merits, it seems to be really like crazily powerful from what I've seen and from what I've heard. I'm
Yeah.
assuming you've heard slash seen similar things, judging from what you were saying.
It is a very, very strong ability, and every Sork that got it is like, yeah, this skill's awesome. I don't think it's a broken ability though. It was on Global Labs because it had 100% down smash. That was like insane. But they removed that before it came to live. It no longer has that. It is a very hard hitting skill, somewhat similar to Grim Reaper's Judgment. But I don't think it's broken necessarily, but it is a very good skill. And they are very, very happy about it for everything, PvE and PvP. PvE, it helps them with stamina management. Basically, you get to start your violation chain a little bit later, and it does pretty good damage. It's pretty fast, flows really well, and then in PvP, it's just super armor damage trade, and it just looks really cool. So it looks like a fun skill to use. I like I said, I don't think it's broken, honestly, but it is one of the more powerful ones that came out. Yeah, and they added a lot of cancels to it. What about let's see, have you messed with the Warrior one?
I have not, no.
So I'm trying to be as positive as I can about all of these, but the Warrior one is disappointing to me just because of the damage. Like, I actually thought, so the initial launch of it had no crit. It was like 1,000% or 1,100% times 4 and had 3 or 4% accuracy. And then when it actually came out, it was 1356 times 3 with 2 hits. So the initial dash is like a hit right when you get to the target, and then the upward slash is a second hit. And then they added 100% crit, made the accuracy 10%, and it has air attack. But it still feels like it doesn't do that much damage. So I don't know. I feel like the damage on it, maybe it's just reduced an incredible amount in PvP. But I think I don't know. I was talking to there's a guildie named Six Suns in my guild, plays Warrior, PvPs a lot, and he was saying he actually likes it as a catch, because it actually is quite fast. So he's like okay with it, but it's not like anything like super special.
Yeah.
I just think it should do a little bit more damage as a refloat, in my opinion. I know like some people would hate me for saying that because a lot of people think Warrior's OP, but I actually do think relative to other classes, Warrior's damage isn't that nutty to me. So I think having a refloat that is unprotected and does pretty good damage would have been fine. That's, so there's that. The Ranger one, I don't know. Like, my perspective on this is different. I actually feel like it hits pretty hard and it's pretty fast and it flows super quick after skills. But every Ranger I've talked to says they think it's shit and they can't, it's
Yeah.
useless. But I don't know what the perspective is. Maybe it's just the bow damage is just too insane, or maybe I don't know. But when I was hit with this skill, it hit almost as hard as the Sork one. But I don't know. So I'd have to see. Like, I guess it just depends on the gear and what you're going up against. It doesn't have much accuracy. Maybe that's part of the issue. It's only 3%. Maybe because it's only 40% crit. It's inconsistent on its hits as well. So yeah, like the Sork one is always going to hit about the same because it has good accuracy and 100% crit. And this one is like, 40% crit, 3% accuracy. It's just maybe if those numbers match Sork, if it was 100% crit and 15% accuracy, you'd actually be like, oh shit, this feels good. So hopefully they do something with that. But it does have forward guard, which I think is actually kind of nice for them because they do have a lot of SA. So forward guard damage is nice, but in the current state, I guess, they say it doesn't hit quite hard enough. Now, they take it way too far and say it's completely useless, but I do think it's actually now, if you grind on Awakening, it's part of your rotation. It's actually good damage in PV. For sure.
Yeah, I've also heard not super good things about that skill. But yeah, it definitely seems like it's kind of one of the weaker ones.
I'm just going down the list in the patch notes. So the Zerker one. Seismic Blast. Your thoughts on this one?
Really good, actually. Solid damage.
Nice.
It does about the same amount of damage, I think, as Ancient Wave without Split Shot Edition. Of course, on like a way shorter cooldown and also no wind up. You can cast it after multiple skills,
Mhm.
which is really nice. So like, there's just a lot of like ways that you could use it. A lot of variety, basically. Very useful. I don't know if it really changes all that much in terms of what the class was lacking. I guess it gives them more. It lets them go in and burst people. Granted, a little bit less burst than you would with an Ancient Wave split shot, but it lets you burst people more often,
Hmm.
which is nice. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a good addition. I think it's one of the better skills for sure. So yeah, overall pretty happy with it, honestly.
I
Good.
have a friend that I asked him before this skill came out if this skill is gonna make him move from Succession to Awaken, and he said no, he prefers Succession. And then he was messing with the skill, and he sent me a message, and he was like, "Yeah, I think I'm just gonna play Awakening for Node Wars now." And I was like, "It's that good?" He's like, "Dude, it." So keep in mind, this guy, he has like my gear. So he was saying it helps so much with being able to secure kills that
Mhm.
he actually feels like he's not totally useless in Node Wars. And granted, he does only like 30 45s. So obviously in Siege, like, when you're getting hit by Wizwitch, this isn't going to do anything. But when you're in like the smaller 30-man, 45-man, it actually like feels really good to go up and engage someone and know like I can actually just chunk their health completely safely as long as my positioning is good.
Yeah.
You
Plus
get the Grim Reaper
PvE.
feel.
You get the Grim
That
Reaper.
is definitely cuz like there were so many times where like I saw opportunities to go in cuz if you're playing Berserker, you have to play off of opportunities based on like what the enemy ball is doing essentially. So like I'm in RBF and there were so many times where I'm like, dude, that's a free kill right there if my ancient way was off cooldown, and then I'd be like, oh wait, I could just go in. I can literally just lava piercer, ground lifting, which is core, so it's protected, into this skill, and then rocket jump out. And it's like it's not as much damage as you would from like a ancient wave split shot combo, but it is like completely protected aside from like the tiny little gaps in between the skills, and it does do a good amount of damage. So it is definitely like a very like useful skill. Like you said, it's not really going to help in large scale. I don't think any like one skill can. You kind of need to tackle a different issue entirely to fix that kind of thing. But it is definitely a welcome addition to the kit and is definitely one of the stronger skills.
Yeah. The cooldown on it is nice too.
Yeah, it's really low.
The tamer one, again, it's in itself, it's an alright skill. It hits pretty hard, especially with the air attack if you use it after Garuda or a float. But it's a completely unnecessary. Their combo damage is already so high, and this is just combo damage skill, so it's basically of zero benefit to them. I think if you removed the stiffness maybe and made it forward guard or super armor, they'd be more inclined to like this one. But no, I don't know. I don't see any tamers excited about this one. PvE though, kind of nice. Does decent damage in PvE from what I saw. I had someone showing me it in PvE and it looked like it actually hits pretty hard. And it has like, it's not a big AoE, but relative to their other skills, it's okay AoE. The Valkyrie one, Divine Impulsa. This one is like kind of like super middle of the road. Like it's pretty decent. It's not amazing or anything, but it's like pretty decent. I think it's like Node War combo chip damage, I guess. Like if you CC someone in a Node War, you can now use like Terra Sancta and then this and not have to worry about getting CC'd as long as your positioning isn't crap. So it's like kind of decent, but it's nothing crazy, but it's pretty all right. And the damage is pretty good too. So yeah, there's that. The Musa one is very nice.
I've heard some good things.
Yeah. So I haven't asked it. I should have asked this person for permission to use this name. So I'm just going to say his quote and not say who it is. But I was asking someone who mains Awakened Musa what they think.
You don't want him to get chastised by the Musa community.
Yeah. But they basically said that the skill makes them feel like they don't have to use projection, which right now, as everyone knows that plays Musa, projection is like kind of insane. Because it does double the damage. It like basically hits twice. When you
don't have to use a broken skill to
have
do
the core one.
That's good.
Well, they were saying like basically they feel like they can actually kill people. Like this like makes the combo feel like really, really good in 1v1s. Like they're I mean, it buffs their entire combo, right? Like 9% accuracy, 9% hit rate is huge. I keep saying this. It's like equivalent to putting on, let's say if you're like Nayashe and you're running Offen and Lieber, right? It'd be like
I'm
putting
not running
on.
Offen Lieber though. What are you talking about?
Have you in the past?
Okay, yeah.
All right, so if you're like past Nayashe, if you're like very recent past Nayashe and you're running Offen Lieber, it would be the equivalent of putting on or equipping a Tet Turos belt and a Tet Ominous ring. Like that's how much accuracy you get from it. So it's pretty nice. The damage on it is just meh. It's not like super crazy or anything. Nothing like the Sork skill. It's just like average damage, but the accuracy buff helps everything. And it has like quite a few flows. Like you don't have to actually use the whole ability. You can just use one hit or the other, depending on which skill you use it after. So kind of nice. Frostflower on live for Meiwa Nayashe. Did this one change at all since GLabs?
No, it's still the
Okay.
same. It needs a little bit of work in some of the connections. But it does pretty good for damage. Not as much damage as I was hoping it was, because obviously GLabs you couldn't really tell what the fuck you were dealing with, but because damage testing in GLabs is wonky. But the skill overall is pretty solid. I did a poll to try to get other Meiwa's opinions on it, what they say. Quite a few people that think it's not very good. Mostly because it's not protected is, I believe, what their primary reasoning is. And then there was another half, almost half of the votes were basically suggesting it's good, so they like it. So it just depends on who you talk to. I think overall it's just the protections aspect that is bugging people.
Does that 10 AP buff help? Is that noticeable for the rest of your like, are you using this to keep that up 100% of the time, like in PvE and stuff?
No, it's just you weave it into a combo kind of thing. That's essentially the gist.
I see. 10 AP is a lot. Like on Kuno, we used block jump on purpose and the flow to lunar dash for that AP. But I guess May was just so. I mean, I saw your damage, so your damage on Awakening is insane. Who were we testing on? Was it Rage that morning on Wednesday morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, your damage is what's your AP? With your Awakening or your Awaken AP?
It was 286.
286. And do you remember your sheet accuracy? Do you know it off the top of your head? Or are you on your character? You could see your sheet accuracy.
It was roughly 356.
Okay, 356 sheet accuracy, 286 Awaken AP. You were able to easily one combo 402 DP striker that's running Sissel Neck and Orkinrad belt.
Yeah.
So the damage is quite nice.
But
yeah,
keep in mind, I mean, I am setting up the damage for, like, you know, the ideal scenario, but it's very possible to pull off realistically.
So if you were
fighting,
yeah, I was gonna say, if you're fighting him in a legitimate fight and you catch him with, I don't know, a stiff or whatever.
Yeah.
Could you?
So,
do you think you'd feel confident that you'd be able to one combo him?
Yeah, I think I could.
What if you were 301 AP?
I could combo him just fine at 301.
Okay.
So, like, the main buffs that I was using to prep with, because this is generally I do when I'm trying to test a combo. So I do forward blind thrust. It gives me 30% crit across the board, which affects a number of skills in Awakening, as well as Succession. But in terms of Awakening, like, using forward blind thrust is a very common skill for an engagement tool. We're gonna have that buff up pretty much in most cases 99% of the time. Maybe if we have to play a lot more safe versus a class, maybe we might catch them with Red Moon and we haven't used, like, FTB in like 5 seconds or so, and then eventually it runs off mid combo kind of thing. I could see that happening. But for the most part, you would end up with that buff on the regular.
Right.
And then beyond that, the Royal Rage attack speed buff, which is pretty common to have up to. Little bit more likely that might not be there, but I don't think the 10% attack speed was making or breaking the combo at all. So that was the only thing I was doing prep wise. So yeah, I was able to kill him pretty consistently.
If this skill
which
had
was actually a surprise.
Right.
So
if this skill had forward guard, would the Meiwa community be happy with forward guard?
I think it would be better.
I'm just wondering, because you guys do have a lot of super armor. Don't you not really have that much forward guard?
Actually, we have a lot of frontal guards too in the Awakening kit, to be fair. I mean, they've done a lot of overhauling on the Awakening kit over the last year, you know? So
right.
We have Pedal Drill, December, our essay. You got Pedal Bloom, Moonlight Dash, or essay. The Stab is Moonrise's essay. You can use it as a linger to bait someone in. It's not really used for anything practical other than baits. The movement on Stigma is essay, but the Stab is unprotected.
So it sounds like this skill by itself would be fine if some of the other skills that are protected had a little bit of a damage buff. Does that sound right? Or I don't even know. Like, is it damage you're missing anymore, or what is? I mean, what is Meiwa's problem?
Yeah, our
now?
chip damage is kind of meh.
Right, your combo damage is good. Your chip damage is bad.
It depends on who you're fighting. Like, obviously, you're not going to be able to pull off damage like a sword, for example, if they do Grim Reapers, but not very many classes can. So, to be fair, Grim Reaper's pretty strong, especially with a core skill being SA. But like Pedal Bloom, Moonlight Dash, they do pretty good damage. So those ones I don't think are too much of an issue. maybe ideally like a 5% increase wouldn't be like a terrible request to have on that for chip damage purposes. But the main offender here, as far as chip damage is concerned, is pedal drill in December. They do basically nothing as far as chip damage on high end PvP. And lower gear score, they'll actually hit pretty hard. Um, but yeah, in high end, they don't really chunk all that much. Maybe if you're only fighting like DR targets, I guess you could see it doing pretty decent damage. But if you fight anyone that has like even a shred of evasion, drill falls off pretty hard. As an example, and that's like one of our main like skills that we used to chip people with. We're like constantly throwing it out because it applies a 30% movement slow. So
Yeah,
it's
it's toxic.
kind of like, yeah, it's pretty nice. But it's also one of the core skills that we would typically use between that and Petal Bloom. So it's a bound, which if anyone's running Adamantians, the core skill on it is unfortunately not very useful, but it is what it is. You
So
still throw it out anyways.
would you say like a TLDR is just nerf the Meiwa?
No, hell no. Why would you ever say
Well,
that?
if it was nerf,
I think that's what I was hearing as well,
Yeah.
Frosty. I
Never,
think that's
never,
the correct take.
never nerf the Meiwa.
the
What's
meat
going
and
on?
potatoes. Well, the thing is like if it gets nerfed just a couple times, then are we gonna hear anyone actually complain about it, or is it just gonna not be played and then the problem's solved? You know what I mean?
I mean, they're already on the verge of that. I mean, there's less and less Meiwas out there. I mean, a lot of Meiwas swap between Suck and Awakening, but I think the mass majority of them for large scale are playing Awakening, just because it's a little bit more easy access to throwing out the SA trade damage. So it's mostly the reason.
Okay, let's move on to the witch. Lightning blast.
Insane.
Lightning blast is a very powerful skill. Forward guard skill,
it's
2 hits, very hard hitting, high accuracy, decent crit, air attack, down
It is
attack.
the only skill that I think could take the title away from Stork for being the most powerful newly added skill.
Yeah?
Yeah, that shit is insane how powerful it is. A bunch of the people that were previously Awakening Witches and either re-rolled to non-witch or to Succession Witch in our guild decided to go back to Awakening to try out the new skill, and it is actually fucking batshit insane how powerful it is. The damage, the range, the fact that it's like a meteor range but also protected. It's basically a slightly less damage and no CC meteor with like a fucking fraction of the cooldown. It's really crazy.
Yeah. You think it does the same damage as meteor?
No, less damage.
Okay,
Less
okay. I was
damage.
gonna say okay.
Less damage than meteor, less AoE, about the same range, I would say, and also is like frontal guard protected, obviously. But
Right.
also, instead of a 30-second cooldown, it's like 7 seconds
7,
or
yeah.
whatever it is.
So, do you think this one's busted or just strong?
Ah. Here's the thing, like, I think it's busted, but when you compare it to Succession, like, not really.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
don't
have
think you can.
it doesn't have the slow on it though. It's one of the reasons why it doesn't bother me as much. It doesn't have the slow, it has no CC, so it is just damage, like it's just pure damage.
Yeah.
The
But that
cooldown is a
fucking thing
little short.
hurts, though.
It's like crazy to me that cooldown is 7 seconds, but then the ranger version, which basically does less damage than that and is a melee skill, has a 9-second cooldown. Very odd how they decide these things. Okay.
Maybe
Yeah,
one
that
day
skill
we'll
seemed
get
pretty
that
good.
then.
I was messing with it. It seemed like it hit pretty hard.
It does. It hits really hard.
It's just like I'm so used to normally when I get hit by stuff Wizwitch does, it not only hits hard, they're fully protected, I'm also slowed and CC'd. So that's strange to me. It doesn't have all those things, you know?
It's just you
Very
feel like there's
confusing.
something missing.
Yeah.
If
something's
I was gonna change it in any way, I think I would just bring the cooldown up a little bit, a couple seconds, and we're probably fine. Because the issue is like a lot of people are returning to Awakened Witch now because of this skill. like that we're
Yeah.
either playing other classes or we're playing Succession Witch. So like you don't want them to go back, right? You want them to be able to play it if that's what they want to do and feel good about it.
I also kind of don't like that it's not protected. I mean that it is protected, sorry. I don't know. It's just like it's not even a projectile you can avoid. So why is it protected? It just appears on you. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it being protected. In this case, it's like I think about the Sage and all the Sage's skills, and I'm like, LOL, those are way slower than this and are not protected. And then this one has way more range and is protected. It's very, very odd to me. But
yeah, it's interesting to me that they decided to give it frontal guard whenever it's like the range on it is insane.
yeah. Okay, so the wizard one. This is basically Hellfire in a melee ability that doesn't move you. It's just an instant Hellfire right in front of you. This is the only one I haven't actually gotten to see its damage in game. The other thing too is like it's very hard to hear Wizards' perspective on it because they all are so used to their succession. Yeah, so they're like, doesn't feel like Voltaic Frigid. It's bad. So I don't know. This one's kind of tough. I'm not sure if it's good or bad. In theory, I think it's okay, but it's not like this skill is not any remotely close to making anyone want to switch off of Suck to play. So
yeah, that's pretty much like I messed around with it a little bit, not in PvP but in PvE. So I really can't say too much about it because it just there's no reason to swap off of Succession Wizard. But it's like I don't know, it's fine. I think it's in like the lower half of the skills added. It's fine. It's another SA.
Grim
From
and
what I can
chat.
tell, it's decent damage, but I don't know. I would have really preferred like it be frontal guard personally, but that's just me.
Yeah. Grim in chat, this is all we have to go on. Says, friend of mine who plays exclusively Awakened Wizard, not Suck at all, says it feels good in PvP, not in PvE. Which is actually kind of makes sense since like it doesn't have the pet with it. So it's basically like Hellfire but without the pet flow. Okay,
Just
Kuno
like a
skill.
large portion of its damage.
I was very, very, very sad about the Kuno skill until it actually finally came out and they gave it a few flows. I still think it needs a couple more, but I do think the Kuno skill overall is pretty decent. So you can now use it out of... When it first came out, it had no cancels, no flows to go into it. It's just a long, slow animation that doesn't really do that much damage. So now you can cancel the entire beginning of it by using it right after either Lunar Dash, Dance Macabre, Lunatic Discus, Halo, or Block Jump. And it'll just do the last hit and skip right to that hit. And it actually hits like decent for it being just a quick one hit. And it's super armor as well. It doesn't linger at all, so you do have to move out like quickly, but it's an okay skill and it has decent accuracy on it. It's fine. I like the skill too. I think it looks very cool. I don't think it really changes. Again, it's another one where it's like it doesn't change a whole lot. Kuno right now is a issue where it doesn't have a whole lot of like, for an assassin especially, it doesn't have a lot of protected movement. Like you're looking at Ghost Step and Dance Macabre and Tendon Cutter, but in Awakening, Tendon Cutter is just not the same movement. Dance Macabre is not the same as Suck, and Ghost Step, just doesn't move you that far. So if you're actually like chasing a wizard or a witch or an archer or ranger in large scale, you can't, unless you're invisible. They're just gonna CC you. So yeah, I don't know. It's an alright skill. I kind of like it. I don't think it even changes their PvE though, unfortunately. It's like a nice little additional chip damage in PvE, but not enough to make it good in PvE. The ninja one. The ninja one changed so much since its initial inception. The ninja one now is just an iframe backwards with a hit at the end. Every ninja I talk to actually really likes the skill. It's a decent iframe that instantly goes into iframe when you cast it. It's unprotected at the end, and you can get out of it pretty quick, but there's a little bit of space where from your iframe to Ghost Step where you're unprotected, so there's some risk in doing it. But if you use it properly and it gets you out of getting CC'd, it's not that big a deal. It also has an evasion debuff on the hit at the end, and the hit actually is decent for PvE. And I guess as a finisher in PvP as well. I saw some people testing out combos. The coolest one I saw, Bloom came up with this combo, which I kind of liked, where basically after a grab, he went Shadow Slash, Hard Aiming, Fatal Blow, Flow Fatal Blow, Blade Spin, and then used Mock Explosion from the hotbar to stiffen them as they get up. And then the new skill, which backs up, applies the evasion debuff, does a little bit of damage straight into Serpent, and then you can close with whatever, Illusion or whatever skills you want to end with. And it was like pretty cool. It hit pretty hard. It was kind of decent combo. But that's very like niche to 1v1. You're not really going to be using that in large scale or anything. But yeah, I think it's mostly helpful in PvE, kind of helpful in PvP. Decent iframe. I don't know. It's all right. You're not going to be able to evasion debuff at the beginning of a combo. The way this skill works, it just doesn't work in a way that you can do that. Dark Knight. Yeah.
When are they buffing it again, man?
Oh, they'll buff it, dude. It's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. Dude. Okay, so the Dark Knight one. Dark Knights are all whiny babies, but in this case, I'm going to side with them. The skill doesn't do any damage, and I don't know why. It does okay damage in PvE and PvP. I have no idea if it's just the damage reduction is just so high, but it hits like a noodle. The numbers don't even make sense. Technically, this skill should hit. Obviously, like we can't go by the numbers, right? Because of the damage reduction. But just looking at it at face value, it should hit harder than the Witch skill, and it absolutely does not. It doesn't hit at all. It's kind of weird. So the damage reduction in PvP, in my opinion, is reduced way too much. It should hit a little bit harder. That being said, it does still have some utility because of the movement and stuff that it allows. It allows you to move backwards or forward while in forward guard. You can instantly cast it after Spirit Legacy, Spirit Hunt, or Trap of a Deer. So you have a lot of like cool options, but the damage on it I think is too low.
I mean, we are talking DK here. Don't they have enough damage?
They do have good damage.
The Maywa.
Well, here's the thing.
Hey, DK is a far more notorious damage dealer than Maywa.
I don't know. I remember a clip of Vert one-shotting my entire guild with your guys' 100.
When? 2017?
No, I mean, notorious damage dealer. When was the last time people thought of DK as a notorious damage dealer? 2017?
No, 2020?
No. You talking about suck? There's Awaken. There's an Awakening skill.
Awakening, I heard, is doing a lot of damage too.
All right, Awakening has been buffed recently. It feels a lot better, but you stop. All right.
Yeah, it's definitely better, but I don't know about notorious damage dealer.
Speaking of, dude, the DKs, there's a DK in my guild that I think is one of the better DKs. Named Wes Matto.
Matto? Dude, Wes is insane.
Dude, he's been playing exclusively Awakening in Node Wars and popping off, and he actually thinks it's just better. Like, he actually thinks it's pretty good in Node Wars now. Like, it's actually a viable Node War class. After the recent changes, the skill, and then obviously the core skills. Yeah,
Wes was one of the people that I would see on defense when I was in Clash, like a lot. Like, he would come back to help defense, and he would literally just be like casually 1v5ing people on Awakening DK. And consider as well that this was back when everyone thought that it was trash, right? Like, dude, holy shit.
I think because of the range poke and the protection that the DK skill actually has, or the DK has a lot of, it's more viable than a lot of the classes for Node Wars, since you don't have to go into danger to deal damage or poke. So yeah. Anyway, so Striker. Striker got Autumn Blaze, which is probably I think it's the worst skill name of all of them. Well, the Ninja and Kuno ones are lame. Flashing Light and Moonstorm.
Yeah, those are pretty lame.
Yeah, those ones are kind of lame. Magma Bomb is kind of nice. Lightning Blast is obvious.
Question.
Frost Flower
While
is
we're talking about things that are lame, do most of these skill animations feel kind of lame to you?
No, I don't think so. Do you think so?
Really?
I wouldn't say most of them.
The Zerker one, I definitely feel that way, yeah. And maybe the Mewa one. But
I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because I'm thinking mostly of Wizard and Zerker, who are both like the most underwhelming lame bullshit I've ever seen.
you don't like the wizard one? I kind of like the wizard one.
No, it's so bad.
It looks
It's
like
so bad.
It looks like Fisher Wave but fire.
No, it doesn't look like
Oh
Fisher
no,
Wave.
not
It
Fisher
looks
Wave.
like-
Equilibrium break. What's the one where the lines go on the ground? Because
That's Fisher Wave.
it has like 4 lines on the ground with a fiery explosion.
I know, but it looks silly because the wizard himself charges up a hellfire and then does a lava pool. And it looks very silly.
I kind of like it, dude. Maybe your standards are too high. You've been playing too much Genshin
Too
Impact.
many caster classes.
Too much Genshin Impact lately. I think the Ranger one also is like one of the cooler looking ones. The Sork one looks cool. I guess like the Warrior one is really basic. I mean, it's just an uppercut slash. I don't know how you make that one look more special. The Kuno
Well,
one
they
is like,
can't add too many. They
The
can't add
striker
too
one
many
is
frames
also
to the
kind of
skill.
lame to me.
yeah, the Striker one is lame. The Zerker
It
one is
basically
super
looks like
lame.
his fucking auto attack, damn near.
Yeah, the Kuno one also, even though the Kuno one does technically look cool, it's arguably the laziest of all of them. It's Delighted Blast into Block Jump into Dance Macabre into the end of Spin Spree. Like it's actually, there's not a single bit of that animation that's new.
No, that Zerker's is still worse though, because
Zerker's
Zerker
is
is
still
literally
worse.
just Giant Leap. It's literally just the start of Giant Leap, but instead of flying backwards, you just kind of do a little beep.
A little.
Someone says Zerkers may look lame, but it sounds the best. Does it have a cool sound effect? I haven't heard it.
I don't play with sound on, so I wouldn't know.
You're strange, dude. I love the sounds in this game. All right, let's keep going. All right, so the Striker one. It is an auto attack with a little bit of fire in it. Dude, I love it. Striker struggle to deal damage when Skull Crusher and Flow Skull Hammer are unavailable. This Skull Crusher's cooldown's like 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Whatever, it's fine. Struggle to deal damage. I'm just like on Kuno, I'm like, dude, like Flash Slash is like double the cooldown. And that's like one of the hardest hitting skills. I just can't believe it, dude. All right, so Autumn Blaze, lamest name. I also think that Striker got the lamest icon of all of them. This Fiery Fist looks so dumb. So I'm not going to listen to that. Hunters in chat saying it's true. We have 2 skills that do damage, even though they have Leg Drop on a super low cooldown, Echo Pierce on a pretty low cooldown, Spiral Cannon also does some damage. They have like the non-protected chip damage that does okay. Enough. Oh yeah, I have to use Pre-Awakening to do damage. Must be rough, dude. None of the other classes use Pre-Awakening for damage. Freaking Hunter, dude. Maybe if you weren't Evasion with 289 AP, you'd do more damage.
I definitely wouldn't know what that's like, spamming FD for damage.
Hold on, I'm gonna link him.
Combos.
I'm gonna link him the god. There's the best striker in the world montage. Yeah, here it is. Best striker in the world video montage. Here we go. He'll learn a lot from this. He won't. Once he watches this. This guy runs DR. He'll teach you. He's got 305 AP with DR and accuracy. Okay. Anyway, so Autumn Blaze, it does do pretty good damage. It's super armor. It's fairly quick. It has a down attack damage buff to help their combo damage. And it has decent accuracy, 100% crit, so it's consistent as well. Yeah, it's a good skill. Very, 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 very nice skill. I guess like it's a good damage trade for large scale stuff, and it's also improves their combo damage, so they can take off even more AP to add evasion. So they want to be able to do the same damage everyone else does at 309 with 2 accuracy accessories when they're only 269 with no accuracy at all. And this helps move towards that.
Hey man, it's good to have dreams.
It is. It's good to have dreams. Mystic. I actually haven't gotten to feel this one in live server. So I don't know how it is, but I heard it's really strong in PvE. It's pretty good damage in PvP. It doesn't like solve any of the like real issues that Mystic has. This is one of the ones that's like the skill itself is very good. I think the damage on their this skill are still not good enough. Like Sea Burial and Wave Orb don't do enough damage, and none of like the chip stuff do enough damage on Awakening Mystic. You're still probably better off just playing Succession if you want damage. No accuracy modifier on the skill at all. You're blind. Lawn. I actually haven't gotten to feel the lawn one either on live server, only on GLabs. But so really the average to below average lawn, I think this skill is useless because it doesn't have super armor, and really good lawns kind of like this skill. I think it's like decent little catch and like okay whatever chip damage. There's like some cool stuff you can do with it. It's not super game changing at all. It's just it's there. It's all right. It's not too crazy. And then Archer. A
lawn named Twizzy absolutely annihilated me and Zach in a Nodor with that skill.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know how much AP that guy has, but like I know I'm a gearlet, but I don't think Zach is, and he fucking annihilated us with that goddamn skill.
Interesting. Yeah, I have to have Shin, you need to test this damage on me so I could see it. I haven't seen it in game. But now I saw you in that battle arena, you're a Sork now, so obviously it wasn't good enough. Archer. Okay. The Archer skill
is really good.
Archer's is super good. You know Cinny, right? Rose. He hates
Yeah, I think I know Cinny.
He hates me for saying this, but this skill is like actually so good. This skill is awesome. I mean, it's just a really reliable, safe iframe that puts you into a super armor that lingers, and you can cancel out of it with a lot of different abilities except for Radiant Explosion, which really tilts Cinny. He wants to be able to use Radiant Explosion quickly after it, and you can't. But outside of that,
heavens to Betsy.
Heavens to Betsy. You know, it's not all right. That takes not much worse than yeah, the Mayo skill is good, but it's not protected, so you can't use it. It's useless. Bad skill. Anyway, so this one, it's also a cool name, Mountain Breeze. It's relaxing. It makes you feel safe and comfortable.
It sounds like some shit you'd spray in your bathroom.
Yeah. It's cologne. It's the same cologne that archers wear. Yeah, so anyway, the skill's cool. I mean, it's really like straightforward. It's an iframe that moves you forward and ends with super armor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like with Archer, when a Sork or a Ninja or any class gets really close to you, you're at risk of being grabbed or just taking damage, and this can help you get out of that. And 8 seconds is a low enough cooldown, since you do have pretty good like kite ability and movement, that it can be a lifesaver.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's really, really good.
So jealous.
It's essentially the 25% BSR that we've been using, but just a normal skill on an 8-second cooldown now.
This skill is legit what Maywas and Musa's want. Like if May wasn't, well, Musa got a really good one too, but if Musa and Maywa also got this ability, I feel like they would be, now they'd still complain because that's just the people that they are IRL, but this skill would go a long way to making that class feel good. Like a long way.
Yeah, it would, because we'd actually have a reliable iframe, maybe.
I mean, you have a reliable iframe. It's just hard to use, right?
It's okay, because that makes it reliable.
Well, you got to keep track of it. It's tough. I'm with you.
Yeah,
have I not sided with you on that iframe?
Yeah.
At all times, I've said it should be removed from chase and added as an independent skill. All right?
Yeah.
Remember what we talked about? Maywa talk time is limited. All right, the shy. I haven't at all like looked at. I hate shies that are in RBF, and now I hate them even more. So,
well, they could just move, while CCing you. It's great.
Yeah, they can walk around doing that stiffness now. It's actually so dumb. Shies, just I want you to get I want your class to feel good and playable, and like you're not just like a one trick like use bubbles and get out or just heal and do nothing else. But this walking around stiffening people is why you guys don't deserve buffs.
I can agree with that.
Flow to Ashes, the Guardian skill. So every Guardian is very upset about this skill because you can't cancel out of the end of it very quickly, so you're kind of stuck in the animation for too long. It doesn't do particularly like very good damage in PvP. I think the thing I don't know, this skill seems like it needs some crit for PvP because it has 0% PvP crit. It probably needs a little bit more accuracy. It has 3%, maybe 5 or 7 would make it feel a little bit better. And it just needs to be sped up. If it had crit, a little bit of accuracy, and was sped up, I think it'd be fine in PvP. And then I hear it actually does do like pretty decent damage in PvE, so it's kind of nice to add to the rotation. But it needs to be sped up or let them cancel out of the end of it. Otherwise, it just feels weird. Or start a new skill a little bit sooner. Silent Breach, the Hashashin skill. This one is interesting because I don't think it's particularly good. Like it's not something the class needed, but it is fun to use and it's added damage and you can catch people off guard with it as a catch. I don't know. I kind of like it. It feels good to use, and there's a lot of skills it chains together with. Like you can basically use it after anything with forward Q. You can even use forward Q in pre-awakening. You don't even have to quick slot it. You can use forward Q after certain abilities. Like the end of Descent is one of the ones where I feel like it feels super good. You can cast Descent in pre-awakening and then at the very end of the animation instantly go back into awakening with this skill instead of having to waste stamina iframing. You just go straight back into damage. It's nice. It's like a decent skill for sure. Not anything crazy, but pretty decent. Also, any little bit of... It's not like huge movement, but it's a little bit of movement and it doesn't use stamina, so hard to complain. Nova. Brutal Ring. Every Nova hates this skill and is super upset about it. I think it just needs... I don't know. This one's weird. It needs to either not be a bound or it needs to do a little bit more damage, and I think Novas will be fine with it. Because right now it just doesn't do a lot of damage. It has a big AoE, and the bound is just a bad CC in our game, the way the meta works right now. Bound just feels terrible, unless you're a Wizwitch.
Yeah, they need to nerf that damn crystal. Let's be done with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the Awaken skills. Yeah. They're there.
Overall, interesting.
I'm curious if they get any more tweaks going forward or if that's it. I hope they do get a couple more.
Probably for specific classes, yeah.
For Sork, yeah, they'll get.
Yeah, Sork, they got to make sure that they add.
They'll put that down smash back on.
They'll do something.
And they'll give it iframe even though it's super armor too. Just to be sure.
It's super armor iframe. It's like you just see both icons for some reason.
Yeah.
Nice.
They just, you just don't want to have any potential, outplay against that skill. So.
Right.
They'll give it 100% accuracy.
Yeah. And they'll make it so that it actually is like a 1-frame skill, so it's like literally impossible to catch it. So they'll just buff the frame rate on it and speed it up.
Yeah, it now instantly casts its full damage after Grim Reaper's Judgment. So it's literally like 1 frame.
Yeah, because they want to make sure that it matches Grim Reaper entirely with how quick it pops off now. They don't want it to be inconsistent, like. And
then as an added bonus, if you cast Crows after you use that ability, it doubles the damage of Crows.
All right, let's not get carried away.
Dude, I got CC'd by a Sork the other day. I shit you not, he CC'd me, just went straight into Crows and killed me.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, dude, that class is hard to play, bro.
It'd be like that.
Atorius is asking in chat if isn't one of the struggles Hash had against Adamantines because he doesn't have a lot of floats, so the skill is really nice for that reason.
He has plenty of floats. I don't know what they're getting at.
He has 2 floats. But yes, kind of in theory, you're not wrong, but if you do the combo, so first of all, your CCs generally are float from the block jump or grab or sin splitter, which is super armor bound. So it's like, also purge is also a float that you can catch with. But for a combo, your standard combo in Awakening Hash, even though it is a knockdown and it's annoying when it doesn't work, it flows super smoothly into Collapse, and Collapse is a float. So you have a failsafe in the combo.
Isn't that 3 floats?
Well, yeah, you have one. Well, you don't. I mean, you don't use 2 of them in combos. I think he's saying floats for like a combo. You only use one for combo, and then 2 of them arguably for catches, Purge and Block Jump. Most people don't really catch with Collapse. But yeah, there's an additional float as like a failsafe. It's kind of crazy too because it works really smoothly after I don't know. It works really well even after Collapse. You can like instant cast it after Collapse, which feels really good. I don't know. It's kind of cool. I wish it did a little bit more damage though. Just a little bit. But maybe that's asking too much. I don't know. I'm greedy person, you know?
What's your new main?
I guess
so.
I could say it's a bad skill because it doesn't have super armor, you know? Standard. All right, let's go to GLabs. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about with those Awaken skills?
No.
Right.
I actually didn't even look at the Global Lab notes this week.
Yeah, it was stuff for
I
new
do
players, but it's interesting stuff.
I do have an extra thing I want to talk about that's not on the list, by the way.
All
Just a brief thing that I'd like to see changed.
Okay,
We can do this now or later.
it's up to you.
We can do it now.
Okay.
It's about the Hadum server.
Okay.
And specifically the allocation of drops within the Hadum server itself.
Yeah.
It is a great annoyance of mine that the Voltara's Flame only drops from 2 places, both of which being 2 of the 3 high-end spots in Hadum itself.
Mm-hmm.
It really is very confusing decision, especially considering that high-end people that are grinding those locations don't actually care about that drop at all, whereas lower geared people that are like trying to get the Black Star upgrades, like those are the people that actually need them. And so my thought process is they should probably change Castle Ruins Voltara Flame with the Okiara's Tide from Alter Imps. And so that way it's literally no change for the people who don't care about the Obsidian for Black Star armor. But for the people that actually do care about the Obsidian, they don't have to go to these like the higher end spots. They're not forced to go to the higher end spots to get this one specific piece of the Obsidian armor.
The eye that you mentioned that you'd swap it with, would that screw though the lower level players, or where else can you get that one?
The what?
You said you'd swap it, like take that drop out and move the Alter Imps one to it or something?
You take Voltara's Flame,
Yeah.
which drops at Castle Ruins, and you would swap it with Okiara's Tide, which drops at Alter Imps.
Okay. So how would you guys acquire
Okiara's Tide is
Tide?
also available at Fogan's.
Okay,
So
got it. Yeah.
So right now you can get Narc's Lightning from Baragi Den, Nagas, and Bloody Monastery, which is also kind of a weird decision, but is fine. You can get Okiara's Tide from Imps and Fogan's, which is kind of like confusing and makes no sense because they're right next to each other in terms of like difficulty. Just one is a group grind spot and one is a solo grind spot. And then Voltara's Flame drops from Orcs and Castle Ruins, which also doesn't make much sense because they're right next to each other in difficulty. Just one is solo, one is group. So that's what I'm saying is that you swap those two, there's literally no difference whatsoever for the people who don't care about the Obsidian because it's the same money. So you're not affecting the people who don't care, but it's a really nice change for the people who do care about the Obsidian, which are generally speaking going to be people that are less geared than those who don't care. Right, because generally speaking, you're going to have, if you're using Black Star, you're probably a bit of a gearlet, generally speaking. Like armor, that is. Obviously, some people are using Black Star weapons, but you can't get Obsidian for Black Star weapons yet, so. That's all I'm saying. That's all I wanted to point out. I think that's a fairly reasonable thing to change that wouldn't really affect the game in any massive way, but would be a nice change for the people who actually care about getting the Obsidian.
Yeah, I also think that they should add the Furious Shard to one more grind spot. It's kind of annoying that it's only at Orc and Castle Ruins. It just makes those places overcrowded.
Don't you also get it at Bloody Monastery though? I thought.
Nope. That would be
really?
nice. That would be a nice addition. Put it there, But right now you can only get the Furious Shard at Orc Camp or Castle Ruins.
Huh, so I guess it is tied to the specific element then. Yeah, because I was talking with someone in my chat and they said that you would have to change the ring drop too because it's tied to the element. And I was under the impression that you could get the Furious at Bloody Monastery as well. So I was like, I don't think it is tied to the element, but I guess it is. So yeah, I guess you could swap out if you swapped out. So the ring, what I mean by that is that the yellows pieces for the ring drop at the places where you get Narc's Lightning, blue drops where you get Okiara's Tide, and the red, which is the Furious, drops at the places where you get Voltara's Flame. So essentially what this means is you would be able to get the Furious ring pieces at Altar Imps instead of Castle Ruins.
Yeah.
Which I guess would be fine, kind of. I still would rather just see them like it would. I think it would be fine to separate the ring pieces from the elements themselves. I don't really see a reason to keep them the way that they are. And you can just put the Furious piece at Bloody Monastery, and that would be fine. I think.
They also could do I mean there might be future Hadum spots. I don't know. I don't know what happened to
Oh, there's
them doing
certainly going to be.
So maybe they'll be more spread out when there's actually more spots. But the way it is right now, it feels a little bit like, I don't enjoy orcs. I know a lot of people love orcs. I really didn't enjoy orcs, and it took me forever. Like the first one is why I was like, I'm like joking / half joking / probably serious, but I'm pretty sure they ninja nerfed the Furious Shards because my first ring to get the first 100 shards took me 19 hours. The second one took me 39 hours. So I don't know what happened there, but it got way more difficult to get the shards. I had multiple hours with a tent buff, a loot scroll, and obviously we have a 50% drop rate buff where I didn't get a single shard for the whole hour. Which is like, just feels bad. And I also don't really like orcs that much, so I hated that I had to be there that much. And Castle Ruins actually is fun and relatively easy, but it's a node war zone 100% of the time. It's just GVGs there.
Yeah, for sure.
So
see, and if you swapped Castle Ruins Voltara Flame with Altar Imps Okiara's Tide, this would also like get some people out of Castle Ruins and get them into Altar Imps, right? Because money's not as good at Altar Imps as it is at Castle Ruins, but you'd still get the piece, right? So now it becomes a bit of a decision that is splitting the player base up a little bit more, right?
yeah. And to be fair, I actually am not bothered by the drop rate of the Furious Shard. I'm just bothered that it's only in the places that I don't really enjoy grinding that much. I actually like Bloody Monastery. I like Baragi Den. I like Fogan's, and I like I do kind of like Castle Ruins, but it's just kind of a pain.
Yeah, the other thing that I think is kind of weird about the Hadum spots is you have 7 grind spots with 3 elements, right?
Mhm.
So obviously one element is going to have one more grind spot attributed to it, right? I find it strange that they decided to go with Narc's Lightning, considering Narc's Lightning drops at Baragi's Den, which is by far the easiest grind spot to like go to.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a confusing decision. I would have much rather seen it be either Okiara's Time or preferably Voltara's Flame, in all honesty. It's just kind of confusing that they would pick Baragi Den's element, which is by far the easiest place to grind with the lowest gear score Rex, to be like Narc Lightning, which drops there, to be the one that has 3 spots attributed to it. Very, very confusing.
Baragi Den also needs its event fixed, dude. I thought they fixed it last week.
They like half fixed it.
Yeah, they like half fixed it, but I haven't even seen the yellow beam or the message since the very first day. Like not this past Wednesday, but the Wednesday before. I've never seen a boss. I did all 200 of my drain shards there and never got the event a single time. So yeah, they need to fix that. I don't know what's going on with that.
They also still need to fix a bag at Altar Imps.
Yeah, well, that's supposed to come, I think, this week because it was on GLabs the week before. So I think we're getting that Wednesday. The despawn bug.
Yeah.
I think, but I'm not 100% sure. Unless that wording isn't what it actually fixed, then, let the bug live on.
Yeah, because I did an hour and a half with Wolf, like before we started this podcast, and we got cucked out of 2 begs because it was his first time grinding imps, so he didn't really know like what to look for. And I was trying to tell him, I was like, "Look, you got to pay attention." But of course, it was his first time grinding, so he didn't really know what to look for, and we got cucked out of 2 begs because of it, which is like really frustrating because again, like I said last week, those bags have the chance of dropping 2 weapons, 1 weapon for each person, which
Mhm.
is obviously going to massively increase your trash and your drop rate of items like per hour for that next 10 minutes, right?
Right.
So it's really depressing whenever you get cucked out of the bag spawn.
No, actually, have you grinded this game before?
Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes.
Right when he got
Why?
his TED off and he retired.
Oh my god. It's pen. What do you even mean?
I know. And you grinded so hard for your flame for your fallen god too.
I know there was so much effort involved.
Almost
Like
2
I had to
full
join your
hours.
party, and that was like a lot of work. And yeah, then it just dropped. Finally,
Did you die?
I waited so long for it. Huh?
Did you die at Taros when we went? I can't remember.
I think once with you. Died one other time. I think only twice total.
You grinded there 3 total hours.
Yeah.
So dying
So-
twice, pretty high.
It was
The death to
Pretty
hours
risky.
grinded ratio is not looking good.
well, no, I died with someone else. I think we tested like a 30-minute or something like that. So maybe I did more than 3 hours. I can't remember exactly.
Okay, so on GLabs, Olvia server update. So they're changing the Olvia server buffs. Starting on March 24th. I imagine all the servers are going to get it eventually. But it says NAEU is getting it March 24th, so that is this Wednesday. New server or new adventurers who are logging in within 30 days or 720 hours after creating a secondary password. For returning players, it's players who have not logged in for at least 30 days or 720 hours, or who have not used the Web Central Market for at least 30 days, 720 hours. That's a returning player. Basically, they're kind of buffing this shit, dude. It's kind of nice. So they're changing the combat EXP from 100% to 150%. They're changing the skill EXP on Olvia from 30% to 50%. They're changing the max level from 60.99 to 61.99. They're also giving you a 100% life skill EXP buff up to Artisan 1, which is really nice. And a contribution EXP buff. So from 0 to 100, you have 150% contribution EXP. From 100 to 200, you have 100%. And from 200 to 250, you have 50%. So new players or returning players can catch up with their levels and skills really quickly now. They also add, in commemoration of the new Olvia server, the new Olvia server benefit will be applied to normal servers over about 4 weeks, so existing adventurers can also receive the benefits. Please note that 2 of the 4 weeks will be applied sequentially with combat experience, skill experience, and contribution experience, and then the remaining 2 weeks will be life experience. So I can actually start getting things to Artisan 1.
Nice.
With that buff, dude.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's cool. I mean, I'm into these catch-up mechanics. Like, as the game ages, it's daunting to get into a game that doesn't add catch-up mechanics or easier ways to get items or gear or whatever. So I like this a lot. I think a lot of people forget about it, but when you start a new account, like, you have no contribution. Like, you have no contribution, you have no life skills. It's kind of a lot of stuff you got to do. You have no journal. I actually, someone asked me the other day, if for whatever reason I lost my account, maybe I got banned, maybe I quit the game or forgot my password or it got hacked or whatever, would I play the game again? Would I still play the game? And at first I was like, dude, honestly, I probably would. Like, I enjoy the game enough that I'd probably try to just get my stuff back. And then I remembered how many journals there are, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I wouldn't. I don't want to do all those journals again. There's so many goddamn journals, dude.
That's true.
They're gonna need a catch-up
And
mechanic for these
some
journals.
of them, some of those journals are just awful to deal with.
And they
Yeah.
have made a lot of them easier, haven't they? By like nerfing the numbers like required for some of them and stuff.
They need to nerf the number of things you need to do for the fucking Herald's or the HP journal. Oh my god, that took me. I just did it the other day. It took like
Yeah.
7 hours.
That was
I
pretty bad.
I still haven't done the new DP one, but I'm looking at this journal thing. Like Igor's has 15 chapter, Aliston's 2 chapter. I've only done 1. Actually only parts of 1. Doran Morgrim's 2 chapters, Rulepe's Travelogue 1 chapter, Book of Morgahan 2 chapters, Lamoot's Gang Journal. I don't even know what this is. You get I have no idea what that is. That has a bunch of chapters.
That's the thing for the Papu versus Otter thing,
Right.
I think.
End game. And then Harold's Journal. There's 3 chapters. Caphras record. There's 4. Pavino's. There's 4. Deeves. There's 6. It's a lot, dude. I wouldn't want to go through all of that ever again. Yeah. So I don't know. But outside of that, I probably would play again. Especially with these Olvia server buffs, dude. I'd beat 62 in like a week. And have all my contribution. I mean, I only have like 200 contribution points as it is, so. The level rewards changed. Now instead of needing 61, 62, 63, and 64 for the Kaposha accessories, you now only need level 61. At level 58, you get the Kaposha ring. At level 59, you get the Kaposha earring. At 60, you get the belt. 61, you get the necklace. And then you need to be level 61 to craft all of them if you want to make extra ones. And they changed the rewards for 62, 63, 64, 65. You now get a tri-Kaposha of all the same accessories. Tri-Kaposha ring at 62, Tri-Kaposha earring at 63, Tri-Kaposha belt at 64, Tri-Kaposha neck at 65. So yeah, there's that. That's kind of nice, I guess. I don't know. The stats on Tri of these aren't that great, but it's still kind of cool for newer players coming in. You just kind of get your set filled out. Plus with the seasonal rewards, it's pretty good. Are any of these Tri-Kaposha accessories an upgrade for you, Rezlar, or you, Nayashe? Be honest.
No.
Nayashe,
No.
don't you use a Tri-Crescent ring?
No.
Is it a Tri-Eye because you like the HP?
No.
Try often?
You know, you tease me about my gear, but I blow you the fuck up, so I don't know what's going on with that.
You think you could survive 1 descent when not CC'd?
Yeah.
I'd have to test. All right. So yeah, there's that. All right. So this Narshilian gear is the other big news. They've been announcing this in game a bunch of times. So here's kind of how this
A bunch of times.
works. Yeah, they've popped it up a few
True.
times. Well, they're letting people know you can't delete your Naru gear because they want you to be able to turn it into this. If you already have deleted your Naru gear or don't have any stones, you basically are, I guess, wait till next season. And you'll be able to make this stuff.
Well,
But-
it's not a seasonal thing. It's a character thing. You get the main quest line.
Right. Oh yeah, make a new character. There you go. So basically it's changing the Pen Naru gear into this Narshilian's gear, which is equivalent to Duo or Tri Black Star. It's weird because I was like looking at a side-by-side comparison of all this stuff, and it's worse in PvP. Like the weapons are significantly worse. They're pretty, I don't know, it's like 4 AP worse than Pentuvala, but with the set bonuses in PvE, it's better than Pentuvala, I think is how I understand it. Because it basically has the Black Star set bonuses. And some Black Star like benefits. So I don't know. It's kind of strange. But yeah, it's kind of like seasonal gear on non-season servers, I guess. Is that how you guys look at it? I guess it's another catch-up
Yeah.
mechanic for people that don't want to play seasonal.
Yeah.
Is that its purpose? They don't have like their blue text in here about it, which is kind of weird. Usually they kind of explain what they're doing with this stuff, but they did not. So yeah, this stuff's coming. I think this is kind of nice too. I don't know, like I think they need to just remove all the quest items, right? Like all the random quest gear that you get, like should all just be removed from the game now. Like all that weird like Dobart's dunce cap and like all that crap, you know?
Yeah.
Could probably be removed.
Probably.
Yeah. So how easy
Stuff's
is it
not
to
really
get
useful.
compared to season gear? I think it's super easy because you just get it to pen and then you convert it to this new gear. You
Yeah, you
convert
just need
Naru.
pen Naru, which is if you do the main quest line, you can easily you don't even have to use fail stacks really. You just keep smacking it until it goes.
Yeah.
That's what I did on my Sage just yesterday, I think.
So yeah, the set effects are if you have the main hand awakening weapon plus 7 monster damage, secondary weapon plus 3 monster damage and plus 3 monster damage reduction, and then the helmet, armor, gloves, and shoes is monster damage reduction plus 7. So there you go.
What's the force set effect on the?
Well, I believe it's the exact same. It looks like it's just the Black Star set. Yeah, you get like the monster, you get the normal monster DR. I don't know if this is like just bonus, like extra effect on top of the set effects, but it's like, yeah, it literally has the Black Star set bonuses, the 10% resist, like all the Black Star set bonuses. And then on top of that has like a little bit of extra bonus, I think. I think that's what this is.
So it has the 100
no.
HP
Sorry.
force set effect?
This is the following effects are added when upgrading Tuvala equipment using a battle soul stone. And you get monster damage reduction, monster DR. There you go. So this is separate, I guess, when you upgrade Tuvala shit. But yeah, for this Narshilian gear, it's literally the identical to Black Star set bonuses. Unless Black Star doesn't have AP set bonus, I don't know. Does it? I actually don't know what the set bonus is on Black Star weapons.
Black Star set bonus is 2 set is plus 5 monster DR, 3 set is plus 10% resistance to debuff for monster, and 4 set for some fuck ass reason is 100 HP.
Okay, so then I think this has more than. Oh no, it's just the individual items have effects. That's what it is. Okay. Yeah. So there's that. They also are adding these Demi-Heart Gathering tools, which just give you way more life EXP than the normal ones. It looks like. And the durability is a lot higher than normal magical tools. They give an additional 50% gathering experience and yeah, last a little bit longer. They're valid for only 14 days when acquired, and the tools that pass validity period cannot be used. Tools can also be worn by seasonal characters. It can be worn by gathering level apprentice 1 or higher, I guess. So, there's that. There is that. And then Dark Rift changes. I guess this was an event. They're removing the Spectre's energies from Dark Rifts. And then a bunch of bug fixes and stuff. Hopefully next week we get some balance changes on the Sage. I'm really curious what GLabs is going to show. Also, I think that we're getting close to that new dungeon release. I think. But
Sure.
I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, and that's the list. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
I don't believe so.
Not really.
Why do you guys sound so sad right now? What's going on?
I got too many nails from Bloody Monastery and not enough cold black suns to melt down. It's pretty
The
sad.
dailies at Nagas are annoying.
Yeah, the Nagas, it feels like because it's only the Axemen, which is only a small portion, so you have to stay there
The
forever.
Axemen and the Spirit. So, to continue on from my Hadum complaining before, for
Mhm.
some reason, the 3 dailies that they have at every spot at least one, and in Naga's case, two of the quests that you can take daily are like, hey, kill a fuckload of this one specific mob that is in like every other pack. And it's very annoying, and that needs to be changed, please. Because again, nobody is doing these dailies except for the people that like actually care about getting the items. It doesn't make sense why you're making it so complicated for the lower geared people to try and catch up on their Black Star.
Maybe it's trying to deter you from going Black Star altogether.
That's what it kind of feels like.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
sold all your Black Star gear and all the mats you've saved up, couldn't you just buy like 3 pen armors?
Well, I mean, I have 3 Black Star armors that are Tet, so that's 3 pen armors right there. And then I have Tet, Black Star, Main Hand, and Awakening, so that's more pens. And then I don't know how much I have in terms of obsidian mats on me at this moment, but probably be a couple bill, I would assume. So that'd probably make up the loss in taxes.
Right. All right. So I wanted to talk about this wizard and witch thing. I wrote something up. It's not perfect. But I feel strongly about it, and I wanted to read it for the first time on the podcast. I'm going to be submitting this to Pearl Abyss today after the podcast. I'm going to be sharing it in all the Discords that I'm in. My personal stream Discord, Value Pack Discord, my friends' Discords. I'm going to be trying to put it on, I'll probably post it on Reddit as well. It'll be in the partner Discord. Just as like I don't know what will change or if anything will change, but it's one of those things like I just feel like something needs to change with the wizard or witch. So I'm gonna talk about it. There's almost like it's like one of those like open letter to Pearl Abyss. So I'm gonna read it. It's a little bit long. Bear with me. But just for the in honors of Rezlar, I'm gonna bio really quick. I'll be right back.
Oh my god.
Uh,
I like how he says it's really quick, but apparently not quick enough that he can just read it so then go to the bathroom. There's no way he's gonna be able to hold. It's not that quick after all.
yeah. It's relative, you know?
Yeah. So you're still grinding Bloody Monastery, Nashi?
Well, I was, yeah.
Yeah, you actually enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I like it. The money's
I
pretty
know
good.
a lot of people after they get their Hadum items that they want are like, I'm just gonna go back to like Stars Inn or Thornwood or Underwater or wherever they were before.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I think common perception is that the Hadum spots just aren't as much money as those spots. So it's like once they get the items that they have to get from the Hadum spots, they're gonna go back to where there's like more money.
Mm. I don't get that same feel, but then again, it's you know, I'm still like enjoying it, so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, you're still just enjoying the different spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you.
I feel like I'm making a lot more money, but I might not be. Maybe it could be artificial due to the extra drop rate.
All right. Oh, how
That
good the
is
spots
true.
are?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, people go overboard with the numbers they say about these spots. It's crazy.
Yeah, someone, I forget who it was, but someone in Guild the other day was like, dude, people are making like 600 million silver an hour at Orcs. I was like, first of all, no, they're not. Second of all, if they're getting anywhere close to that number, I guarantee you they have way more gear than you and I. And they're also getting extremely lucky with the fucking weapon drops on Hadum.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
also paying 50 mil for a temp buff that they don't calculate. They also are using yellow loot scroll and or agris. There's a lot of reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
They also, some of them just calculate masses as 50 mil for some reason. So there's a lot. There's a lot. Okay, so
Hey man, those masses, that's serious. That's some serious money.
it's true. You can turn them into billions. So I'm going to read this verbatim. I'm not going to add any extra context to it. I'm just going to read it verbatim. We could talk about it after, and then just talk a little bit about WizWitch, because I know this has become a WizWitch complaining podcast, which I apologize for that.
Shameful.
But it's
shameful.
just the longest. I think it's the longest that a single class has like controlled the meta of any class in the history of the game. Right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, pretty fair.
The only thing that I might argue would be the duo reign of Sork and Ranger at launch, but that's 2 classes, not 1, so...
Yeah. But how long did that last?
A good fucking while.
Yeah, I don't remember how long it was till Awakenings came out from launch off the top of my head. But all right, here we go. I'm nervous, dude. I'm nervous because people judge this stuff. This is all right. So I'm gonna read it as is. Here we go. It's titled "The Elephants in the Room." I want to start this out by trying to exemplify how serious this topic is, in hopes to have this issue addressed before it causes any more damage to the game. I'll start with an important question. What is arguably the most glaring issue with Black Desert Online today? I've asked myself this question 1,000 times. I always come up with the same answer. If I ask my stream chat this question, what is the most glaring issue in the game today? They give me the same answer that I've come up with. When I ask my friends, my peers, what they think needs to be changed most, same answer still. If you ask BDO Reddit community what the biggest problem is, as well as other streamers' Discords and Twitch chats, same answer still. Players from KR, South America, Southeast Asia, MENA servers, what do they think is the most obvious issue in the game that they love right now? It's the same complaint across the entire globe. Succession Wizard and sometimes Witch are just too strong. The community is growing increasingly frustrated because it seems that for the better part of the last year, Pearl Abyss has ignored the loudest and most discussed feedback about their game. It is time for Wizard and Witch balance to be addressed. Before I get to what should change, I want to list the things that Wizard and Witch are currently affecting in a negative way. Siege, all 3 castles, as well as Serendia and Balanos Siege. Node Wars, T1, T2, T3, capped, uncapped, 30-man, all the way up to 100-man nodes are all heavily affected by WizWitch. GVGs, guild versus guild, ranging from seasonal GVGs, mid-tier, newer guild GVGs, large-scale GVGs, even just Arsha server free-for-all style GVG and PvP, are all affected by WizWitch. Red Battlefield, seasonal and normal RBF, Castle Ruins, Garmoth RBF, all affected by WizWitch. Arena of Arsha PvP and group fights, especially 2v2, 3v3, any group PvP done in AoA, and open world PvP. These important parts of the game are becoming more and more unpopular, and the biggest reason is Succession, Wizard, and Witch are dominating in all of these areas. Players are quitting Node War guilds. Node War guilds are either dying or struggling to motivate their members to participate in Node Wars. Even when they do want to participate in Node Wars, it has become incredibly difficult to find good fights. And probably most importantly, veteran players are beginning to feel forced to re-roll to Wizard or Witch in order to compete, or feel it's time to quit the game entirely. And it's not only because of the miserable experience it provides for all the players who have to face Wizard and Witch, but also the miserable experience for many of us who are encouraged and sometimes forced to play Wizard and Witch just to stay in our guild or our community. For many guilds, it's become a requirement. Guild recruitment messages oftentimes read as follows: Strong Node War Guild is looking for new members. If you want to join our our minimum gear score requirement is 680 gear score, or 630 gear score if you play Wizard or Witch. Guilds are willing to take a player with gear that is months or even years behind, as long as they are playing a Witch or a Wizard. This is a huge problem. So let's discuss some of the things Wizard and Witch can do that are causing frustration for most other players. Let's begin with the slow debuffs and range damage. As a player is moving through the battlefield, melee classes especially, but it applies to everybody, you're being hit by damage and slow debuffs constantly. Your HP pool is a resource. Your attack speed, cast speed being slow makes it difficult to manage that resource. Oftentimes, your HP pool depletes before even being able to engage the enemy. If you aren't a Wizard or a Witch, typically you're dying before ever having a chance to engage an enemy player, team, or a group. As a wizard or witch, you can avoid it entirely with range. You can safely engage with teleport, dish out an immense amount of damage all around you very quickly, and then disengage safely. Most classes struggle to make it to the fight or struggle to live long enough to contribute meaningfully to the fight because of the slow debuffs applied by Witch and Wizard and the ranged chip damage dealt. Oftentimes, when you do finally manage to get to the fight and actually use a skill or an ability, you've been damaged or slowed so much that you're in panic mode and have to try to escape, emergency escape, or just die. Players feel like they're losing control of their characters before ever participating in the fun part of a fight. More and more players feel like their class is either useless or not fun to play anymore. Quick water break, hold on. The range damage. The range damage is also way too high, way too safe for wizards and witches. I'll use Succession Ranger as an example here because Ranger can also output very high damage. The difference, though, is that they are somewhat at risk during their damage output. Ranger abilities also leave them at risk from other ranged abilities because most of their skills are unprotected. If I'm a flanking class, like a ninja, a kuno, a hash, sork, dark knight, or any other class that's good at moving into a position to flank, I see a ranger using its abilities on my guild from range, I can do something about it, and the ranger has to be aware of its surroundings as well as be ready to react. The ranger also has to focus their abilities on defending themselves from the attack and can no longer pressure other players. Wizard and Witch, this is rarely if ever true. When they are throwing range damage, most of it is protected, like Meteor, Frontal Guard, and Super Armor, like the Lightning Rotation, Frontal Guard, and Super Armor, and then they have a number of very simple to execute options for defending themselves in a way that lets them come out on top. Oftentimes, while defending themselves against a flanker, they're still dealing huge amounts of damage and applying CCs to other players in the area. Which brings me to their area of effect damage, AoE. Area of effect size on the skills that have damage, crowd control, CC, speed, and protection like Prime Voltaic Pulse, Prime Frigid Fog, Prime Meteor, Prime Earthquake, are problematic and make it feel impossible to outplay these classes in a large-scale setting. Most, if not all other classes with similar AoEs have some sort of downside to their abilities. Some examples: Tamer's Fearful Trembling, small AoE, not much damage, fairly slow animation. Hashashin's Descent has no CC on it. Damage is split into two parts, allowing players after the first part to react to being hit by the second part. Zerker's Devastation, low damage, slow animation, CC only on the core skill. Kunoichi's Flash Slash has a long wind-up time, only moderate damage, very high cooldown, and in order to speed up the animation, you have to use a second cooldown, Smokescreen, which is another important skill with a long cooldown. More examples like Leg Drop. Leg Drop, its AoE damage is moderate, doesn't have CC unless you have a core skill. Those are just some examples. You can find downsides to Blade Spin, Katana Shower, Dark Knight's Lunacy, Warrior's Grave Digging, Archer's Spear of Sylvia, etc., etc. The list goes on. Not only is there no downside to Voltaic, Frigid, and Meteor, but Voltaic, Pulse, and Frigid Fog have very low cooldowns, which means the player doesn't even have to decide when the best time to use the skill is, because it's off cooldown so quickly. Lastly, when skills like Meteor, Voltaic, Pulse, and Frigid Fog do super high damage, have a high CC, are fully protected, and have a massive AoE, it reduces the amount of strategy and skill required to be effective in large scale. Part of being good in large scale is positioning. Most classes, when engaged on, have to turn their attention to a class and make a decision whether the player in front of them or behind them is the bigger threat. They then choose to deal with one of the two threats or escape. Wizard and Witches aren't required to do this because if flanked, Voltaic and Frigid solve both of their threats without ever turning their camera. Not only is it too strong, but it's also way too easy to use. Lastly, stamina. This is one of the few classes that doesn't have to think about their stamina bar. When another class gets into a fight, they have to think about the amount of stamina they use to close the distance on a player or a group. They need stamina to survive, move within the fight, then hope to have enough stamina to get back out safely. This is not the case with Wizard and Witch. Their stamina bars remain full for the entirety of an engagement. Stamina is a resource we all have to manage. Wizard and Witch should be no exception. Now, this is the difficult part. What does the community want done about this? I've asked various players from different communities and servers if they could make one single change to Wizard and Witch class, what would it be? And I asked Wizards and Witches the same thing. What do they think should be changed about their class to make it more fair? And here's the list of things that were told to me in order from most popular. Remove the slows from the kit. It's the number one thing. Number 2, remove split teleport. That one's exclusive to Wizard, which doesn't have split teleport. Number 3, lower the damage of Voltaic Pulse and Frigid Fog. Number 4, make ranged abilities, especially ones with CC, such as Prime Meteor, unprotected. Number 5, significantly lower the damage of ranged abilities. Or number 6, increase the cooldowns of skills like Voltaic Pulse and Frigid Fog. There are a lot of options and paths to take. It's a delicate balance. I don't want Wizard and Witch to become a bad or unusable class. My only goal here, since I became partner, is to have the problems Wizard and Witch create for the game to be alleviated so players can feel like they can play whatever class they want and have fun in PvP once again. You can spend time buffing every single class in the game, but the problem will still persist. Wizard and Witch make everyone else's classes, despite how strong they are, feel weak or irrelevant entirely. A little water break. Hold on before we move on. Okay. Here's a list of changes I believe to be the most important and fair. Prime Meteor. This skill needs a downside. Meteor is extremely high damage, a large AoE, far range, a CC on every hit, another CC on the last hit, and protection throughout the entire skill. Either significantly lower the damage, remove the protection, or remove the CC from this skill. Frigid Fog. Significantly lower the PvP damage of Prime Frigid Fog, combined with Voltaic Pulse. This skill is extremely potent and simply does too much additional damage after the big damage Voltaic Pulse already does. Prime ranged abilities. Slightly reduce the damage of ranged lightning skills in PvP or give them split damage similar to Blizzard so that the change only really affects large-scale group fights. Stamina. Add a stamina cost to all of their mobility so that it's not something they can just use indefinitely. Prime Earth's Response, Prime Earthquake, Magical Evasion, Teleport all need to cost stamina so that the class has to at least keep track of how they use their abilities. And then slows, remove the slow debuff from the lightning abilities, or that the lightning abilities have. When a player is hit by any of the lightning abilities aside from Voltaic Pulse, they receive a slow debuff. These slows, among others in the game, make controlling your character difficult and a completely frustrating experience for most players. It is not imperative for Witch and Wiz to apply slows to have success. It will not affect PvE and will have minimal effect in 1v1 if the slows are removed. And then I added a little note here. I actually added this morning because, as you saw from the top, split teleport was the second most recommended to remove from the class. So this is my little note on the split teleport. I left removal of split teleport out because I think split teleport is one of the reasons Succession Wizard is fun. The goal here is not to make the class boring or bad. Split teleport makes the class fun to play, and if the class finally gets some sort of stamina management like the rest of the classes, then split teleport might not feel as oppressive as it does now. And then I say, I strongly believe these 5 things need to be looked at and addressed. The reason I chose these 5 things is because while this would significantly reduce their effectiveness in group PvP, it won't have as big of an impact on 1v1. These suggestions are for the health of the game, the health of Node Wars, and other group PvP. Players are tired of the game and strategy in PvP being dictated by these 2 classes alone. If Pearl Abyss doesn't agree with the proposed changes to Wizard and Witch, I hope they find it important enough to at least start making changes of their own. For the better part of my time in BDO, I have given Pearl Abyss the benefit of the doubt. I've supported or defended Pearl Abyss when I think people judge them too harshly. Because of this, I want to believe that Pearl Abyss is not ignoring player feedback. Rather, Pearl Abyss just hasn't heard it. But to believe that they simply haven't heard us is also to believe that they are simply not listening. So please make this right, Pearl Abyss, and look into the long overdue imbalance of the Wizard and the Witch. So there it is. I gotta make a couple edits and spelling corrections and stuff, but I'm gonna be sending this to Pearl Abyss through the partner Discord, sharing it with the other partners individually. Put it on Reddit. Hopefully it gets looked at and it's like, hey, players are actually kind of upset and want something done. I am going to re-record me reading it properly and not making mistakes and running out of breath. And I will also have that up as well. But yeah, it'll be in the Value Pack Discord. It'll be my personal Discord. I'll share it around so people just have it. And then that way you guys, like, really my thing is two things. One, I don't know if they'll listen to anything I say. I don't know if they'll listen to anything any of the individual partners will say, or if they'll actually make a change or act on it. But at least everyone in the community could know, if this gets out and spreads, that something was said. And if they're not doing anything about it, it's because they've chosen not to do anything about it, not because they haven't heard that something needs to be done about it. So there is that. Nash and Rez, did you guys want to say anything?
I thought that was very well structured.
Yeah, I disagree with some of the things, but overall, it's good.
What do you disagree with?
I don't really think the slows itself on Witch and Wizard are a problem. I think it's more slow stacking in general.
100%.
Yeah, I think Witch and Wizard slows are just part of a bigger problem, which is just that. I think, like, if you remove slow stacking, it probably wouldn't, like, Witch Wizard slows wouldn't be that big of a deal. Blizzard slows like hell, but it's on a pretty decent cooldown, and they're also unprotected while they're using it, so it's kind of like whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
the other
the
thing
lightning
is,
skills, though, I mean, protected ranged slow, even with slow stacking, protected range slows are, I think, insane. The whole lightning pre-awakened kit, like, slows you by 40%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree. Slow stacking is a bigger issue, and in regards, like, just in relation to just the slows WizWitch have. And I do think that a lot of people have complained about that and submitted feedback about that. I don't know if they're going to change that or not. So at the very least, if these slows got removed, I think would be helpful.
Yeah. And then also, I'm with you on the split TP thing. Like, I was actually shocked that that was so high on the, like, what other people think is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because I actually think that every version of Witch and Wizard should have split TP.
I agree.
Honestly. I think the bigger problem with Succession Wizard is the fact that they have split TP and Earthquake. Like, for some reason, people forget that they basically have three. It's not just that they have split TP, it's that they basically have three independent teleports. Which is kind of fucking insane. Now, granted, Earthquake is just super armor, and it does have a pretty lengthy animation attached to it, unless you cancel out of it with Earth's response, which is on a 3-second cooldown, so it's really not that hard. But still, it's kind of fucking insane.
Yeah.
But you pointed that out, that you actually didn't think that that was an issue, so I'm glad that you pointed that out.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, dude, I think about every time, like, new content comes out or something new comes out, a new class, like, the amount of excitement people have. And I just imagine, like, if GLabs came out this Thursday morning and had a bunch of WizWitch changes, it would be like people would, like, lose their shit. Like, they would not believe that it's actually happening. Like, holy shit, did something actually get done? Like, people would be more excited. I think someone asked me earlier, I think it was Bloom or Nola asked me earlier, would I be more excited? Like, would I rather have the Awakening of Sage be released, or would I rather have Kuno be buffed into a spot where it's, like, absolutely top tier in, like, every aspect of the game, or WizWitch nerfs? Like, in a second, I'd rather have WizWitch nerfs. And then Nola, I think, said, Nola said, I would rather read patch notes that say WizWitch got nerfed than Pearl Abyss give me $10,000 worth of pearls. I'm like, I agree. I'd rather have the WizWitch nerfs. Honestly, I think people would, like, lose their minds if there was actually WizWitch nerfs on GLabs. And yeah, and my thing is, like,
good way, right?
there's nothing, like, I don't want the classes to be unplayable, because I don't want any of the classes to be unplayable. Like, I look at the way Nayashe feels about Meiwa. It took a long time, but now the way I feel about Kuno, like, it feels bad when it feels like your class is useless or can't do a whole lot in all of the end game PvP.
You're playing a different game.
Yeah, and I don't want that for actual WizWitch that like their class. But I also don't want to see all of my favorite Kunos in Show Nation and Black Rose are on a wizard. That is sad.
Yep.
It's like actually kind of sad.
Yep. All Melos are either Hashishines or fucking wizards at this point.
And it's what's funny is that the imbalance of Suck Wizard, you know who it's the most sad for is people who want to play Awakening Wizard. Because it's like the whole time it's just like, why am I doing this? Like, you just click one button and then all of a sudden your efficiency goes through the fucking roof, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of insane.
It's a crazy class. It's nuts.
It's knuckin' foots, man.
Anyway, on to the comments.
On to the comments, I suppose.
On to the comments. Here we go. So
I am actually going to have to dip out. I got a call coming up here soon.
Alrighty.
Alrighty. Tell your grandma I
But,
said what's up.
Yeah. We'll do.
That's separate from the call. I just said me and his grandma are real close. That's not weird, is it? I didn't think so.
No, not at all.
All
Alright. I will hit you guys later.
right, later, man.
Later, bro.
Take it easy. All right. The comments. Starting from the newest. All right, let's see. The Awkward Ninja says, exciting they are adding the guild drill thing that was teased years and years ago before BDO NA was added. Do you remember that? I actually do not remember.
I don't remember that either. But I didn't pay attention to this game until the day it got released, really.
Yeah. That was before my time, dude. Way before my time.
Yeah, I basically got told about this game like 3 days before it released, and then I didn't really start paying attention to like the media of it until it came out, and I was seeing the streams of it, and I was like, oh shit, wait, this game looks pog as fuck.
Yeah. He also says, also at time 219, not gonna lie, I thought Rezlar was outing himself as someone who likes ugly bastard type characters. Because you were saying you hate the high fashion model characters that keep coming out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he does like ugly characters. Zibba says the descriptions says this is Guild Wars 2, Lamau. Yeah,
Yeah, it does
did you
that
notice
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not something that I set. That's something that YouTube does on its own. And sometimes, if you go through all of the episodes, like it'll say random games. Sometimes, most of the time, they're games I've never even heard of. But for this last episode, it gave me Guild Wars 2 for some strange reason.
Oh my god. All right. So, sorry, I had to go look it. I guess they changed it. I see BDO now.
It
Mariner.
must have gotten changed then.
Mariner von Kraus says Suck Quest is a quest from BS. Just did one today. You take it from BS, Black Spirit, but does not give you awakening powers. He helps you wake up and remember the powers you once had. There is zero lore excuse for not having an awakening. The only way I could see them not having a traditional awakening is if they did it like Shire Archer. Yeah, it's getting an awakening. They said the awakening will be out in approximately 4 weeks, so we will see then. Reese Jones says somebody always cry about something being too strong in the game. Nerf this, buff this. Everything is strong in its own right. Quit freaking crying, good lord. I guess I don't know. Okay, fair enough. Alex Iglesias says it was my understanding that every class was a specific character, not just a random person that learned the same things. Like there's only one canonical Sork, and she is Karshin or something. Can't recall the story there fully. LOL. There is only one canonical warrior, and he was the only member that survived out of a legendary mercenary band. I think all the characters have been a specific person. PA just finally stopped being lazy and is actually showing this with an actual story.
That is not my understanding of how it is. With the original characters, my understanding is that we are all descendants, essentially, of like these ancient heroes or these people's like tribes or whatever you want to call it, etc., etc. So like every berserker is someone that is a descendant from the tribe of Tantu, essentially. is
Mhm.
how I understand it. And then for Goyen, every warrior is a descendant or like a part of like Goyen's mercenary troop. Like they all have their individual reasons that connect them to the original version of that like class essentially. But every warrior is not Goyen. Goyen is a specific person that in the world of today is actually passed away. You can actually see his grave on top of the cliff by Heidel, I believe.
And I heard Zerker is like a frog. They're like they can self-reproduce since there's no female Zerkers.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
How do they reproduce then?
Uh, every Zerker is a hermaphrodite, possibly.
Yeah, they're like Godzilla. Ziegel says, I don't think there are Thornwood mobs. I think those are a little teaser for the Thornwood Castle thing, since I can't locate where the mobs in the trailer are in Thornwood. Yeah, I went and tested at Thornwood. We definitely don't one-shot any of the Thornwood mobs on Sage. So, either in that... Dude, someone made the joke...
should we be filing a lawsuit for false advertisement?
Yeah, false advertising, dude. Someone made the joke. Someone was like, well, they probably, when they were testing out the damage and doing the demo trailer, kept getting CC'd and they got tired of it, so they wanted to one-shot the mobs and up the AP to 5,000. Which I actually believe, dude. I believe. Yeah?
Guardians are not female berserkers, Kelthon. They're from a totally different region than the berserkers. Or the giants, technically, would be the race of the berserkers.
They have to go. He said snoo at the end of that. Adele Monette Rivera says, what if this Sage class has no awakening? Everyone would be disappointed because they announced one. Tristan Crow says, I'm tired of new classes being added without anything being done about the PvE balancing. I'm a console player, and to be honest, it's worse here than on PC from what I can see. I'm glad Frosty is going to have more of a say, though. Well, that's to be determined. And I hope every class will soon be viable in PvE and Suckwiz gets nerfed. Probably won't happen, though. Also, why doesn't this man know if he's Rezlar or not? Please buff Rezlar's part of the intro. Yeah. No, PvE is like, it's one of the things that frustrates me more than anything. There's absolutely no reason why some classes should make half the money of other classes. It's weird.
Well, you said that that's going to be your next campaign, right?
Yeah, that's up there. There's a few. I got a few campaigns. That's a big one, though. They're just, if nothing else, because there's not everybody PvPs, right? Like that's fair. And not necessarily everyone PvEs either, but a lot of people grind because grinding is just chill. You can hang out with your friends, you just talk. It's like not so distracting that you can't have a conversation or watch movies or whatever. So people can grind. People like the gear progression. There's no reason why half the classes need to make just absolute crap money while the others are just popping off. You know? I don't know. Yeah. Svarnir Troon says, give heavily escalating rewards for each hour the drill is alive, with a server notice after a set time to go kill it for a scaling bounty. And regarding Rezlar's concern of hitting it to troll, just give real-time HP in your guild page somewhere. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be super tanky though, right? Because in order for the real-time HP bar to be enough to prevent trolling, like if someone went to your guild drill and just hit it just to try to lure you out there for no reason, if you watch it and see like, oh, the HP bar is barely ticking down, like how much before you have to, like it'd have to be tanky enough that if a guild goes there and starts hitting it, you'd be able to react in time to actually defend it. It'll be in. It came out on KR. It's out. So I'm really curious if we end up getting it or not this week or soon.
So lore update for you. Apparently Zerkers are actually humans. Giants are actually humans, but it's a male-only mutation. So they're actually just they're genetic freaks, but they're humans, and it's a male-only genetic mutation.
That makes
so I guess
perfect sense.
they just fuck normal human women, I suppose, to reproduce, and then they can produce more genetic freaks or just normal humans, I guess.
Okay, good to know. Hold on, almost. Okay, I have it written down. Kevin Andrade, that's going to be in my next paper. Kevin Andrade Grew says...
In your next paper.
Yeah. Did you know that Wizard has an ability in the skill tree called Sage's Memory? It's a 3-minute and 30-second cooldown that ignores all casting actions for 15 seconds, which is why I understood it to be like, this class idea has been in the agenda since we made Wiz Witch, but we've not done more than visualize the idea before not too long ago. Great episode so far, though. Keep it up. My RNG seems to be on fire whenever I watch the podcast. Nice. Yeah, I could buy that. Like, they haven't been designing this class since Wiz Witch. I know a lot of people keep saying that because of the translation. I think they just meant they haven't made a mage since Wiz Witch, but it's certainly possible they've had the idea in their minds for a long time since the name Sage is like elsewhere in the game. But this is definitely a newer class with newer design principles. So, Bono No says Sage Awakening.
Also, what's
the
I'm gonna need some explanation for why witches and wizards have the Sage's Memory, because that seems like it doesn't make sense. I'm gonna need a lore explanation on that from our lore experts at some point.
Yeah. Why do they have Sage's Memory? That's a good question.
I remember when I was playing my Sage, at some point it mentioned something about Sage's Memory as well. Like it said, like, to recover the Sage's Memory or something like that. I forget exactly what it was.
It's in the passive. It's in the passive. It says something here. I'm switching to it now to find out for sure. But I'm pretty sure it says something in the passive. Najil is saying that wizards and witches are sages. The descendants of sages? Yeah, because there's also, I saw a screenshot of like a shy saying, when I grow up, I want to be a sage. So I guess sage is just a type of thing. But yeah, I think in his passive, the Prime Ancient passive, it says recover sage's memories. Just like green text.
My lore expert says, and I quote, to make Wiz Witch even more fucking busted.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that one, but
well, I got a Mysterious Night buff from someone else's grind spot real quick looking at that. Okay, so Bono No says Sage Awakening will be magic based, Striker Keck.
Possibly.
Yep. I mean, I don't think they usually don't change the damage type between things, but yeah, that's the thing. If it's melee, if it ends up being like combat, like melee based combat, it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be melee based combat that's magic. I guess that's like Sork. They have a lot of melee skills too. It's not that crazy actually. Battle.
It's gonna be fucking JoJo's, dude. I'm telling you.
The birds.
That's what I think is gonna happen. I think that big fist that you see in the Succession, it's gonna be more of that. He's gonna have like a stand, basically.
Would it tell you if all the awakening abilities were basically the same as pre-awakening, but instead of a fist, it's a foot with a sandal?
I mean, that'd be pretty funny.
Stomping and kicking. I could see it. Foot with sandal is Sage's Awakening. Battle Hot Dog says, talking about non-human classes, I want to play a Papu. Already grinded 3 hours of Blood Wolves. Time flies when listening to you guys. Love the podcast. Glad to hear it, man. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, Papu is Papu the are Papus the blue one?
Blue guys.
Okay, the blue one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Papus would be kind of interesting. I feel like the otters just look stupid. Like otters IRL are so cute. The otters in this game look so dumb. They look like sloths, actually, more than otters.
You think so?
It really bothers me. Rickson says, Frosty, you think Hash is a runaway model or a runway model? Rezlar, yes. Have you seen his jawline? Frosty, it is kind of perfect. Lamau, in my opinion, Rez is right. We need a Rudum class or something similar.
Yeah, I don't know. Just more like, this is a fantasy world, man. Have fun with it. Not everything has to be a fucking human. I don't understand why they're not having fun with the many, many races that they have in this world. Rudums, orcs, like Karudos, and there's a million fucking races.
Leaf said Frosty can't sleep. He stays up all night thinking of BDO otters. True. They're nightmarish to me. JB123 says, so excited for Sage. A bit annoyed. People seem to saying it's just another witch wizard. Well, I mean, yeah, aside from a unique way to cast spells, I think it's totally fine for a caster class to use hand animations to cast spells. I've been playing since NA release, and I have been waiting all this time for a new caster type class to come in. Yeah, I mean, even with the similarities, like, and we compare it to Awakened Wizard, but it really feels different than Awakened Wizard to me, like a lot different. Even though it's like slow and lumbering and just has like kind of big AoEs, it feels like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like Wizard at all to me. The movement is really unique. Dude, a lot of people have been complaining about how you basically go invisible when you're in that movement. Does that bother you, Rezlar?
Yeah.
Did you notice when they're charging a skill, you can see it still?
You can what?
You can still see them because their hands are lit up with these like balls. So when they're invisible, you still see the balls.
I haven't really 1v1, so I haven't really paid much attention to them themselves. But I mean, I've said this before on the podcast. My stance on invisibility type stuff is it should all just kind of be removed. I think it's just kind of annoying, and it makes for a bitch for clarity in large scale. It's really frustrating. Kind of inherently creates a class imbalance in itself. It also creates a fucking wealth imbalance, because if you don't have a PC where you can run with effects on, it makes it 5 times harder to track people.
Yeah, that's true for some. Although this doesn't have anything to do with effects. It looks the same no matter what.
Yeah, I'm referring more to like Ninja, Kuno, Slurk. Like they have very specific animations on their movement skills that are pretty easy to track if you have skills on, but if you have skills off because of frame rate, etc., it becomes exceedingly more difficult to track their movements.
Yeah. Saint L says something that I'm not sure is something they care about in Korea, but notices a big issue in NA is slow stacking, and it ties into the Wizard Witch discussion as Blizzard contributes to it. Slow shouldn't stack at all, and it's something that flies under the radar for a lot of balanced discussions. 100%. Slow stacking should not be a thing. I mean, there are a million ways to address it, and the absolute worst version of it is allowing just all the slows to be applied in stack because they're different.
And that's the one that we have.
And that's the one that we have. It's the worst way to handle slow debuffs in a game. Korzak says, this will never happen. Oh, no, sorry. Bawa Killer says, is it just me or the audio kind of broken at 5400 to 54110 or 10? I listened to that. I could not tell what he was talking about.
I also listened to that and couldn't tell what he was talking about, so I think it was just him.
Korzak says, this will never happen, but if there needs to be a distinct difference in a role between Wiz Witch and Sage, Wiz Witch would need to get pushed more into the support mage, and Sage would be more offensive oriented. Less damage on Wiz Witch, but they have utility. Sage gets more damage output, but less support. But then again, this will never happen. Definitely keeping an eye on this guy. Might reroll. Have wanted to leave my Mystic for a while, but I'm an addict and keep going back to her every time I try. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I aside from Wiz Witch doing less damage, it is kind of like what you said. Like, Sage has no support and looks like it's more a damage dealer. But Wiz Witch is a support and also is a damage dealer. Late Night says, I'm all on board the Suck Archer hype train.
I'm so confused as to why. I'm really not. As a former archer, I've always been very confused by the Suck Archer crowd. I don't really understand why they want it so badly. Or like, I guess my main thing is like, how would you make it different enough from the Awakening where it doesn't end up just being like a clone, essentially?
I think he needs a slingshot. Would slingshot succession actually be kind of fun?
I don't know.
No,
I'm very confused by that whole thing. Always have been.
I know. Well, I always find it funny because all the archers hated their crossbow to begin with, and now they're like, I wish I could use only the crossbow.
Yeah, I don't know, but As with everything I say about Archer, I believe General Moores wants a succession Archer, and you should always listen to Moores before you listen to me, because he is far superior in both skill and knowledge about the class than I am. So
Yeah. Let's see. TLDR, this class should be the answer to suck Wiz nerfs in the sense that it provides an alternative to quitting for Wiz mains as they adjust balance. To give a new player perspective, looking into the history of BDO, I noticed that PA mostly does slow iterative changes that often don't get reversed. Contrary to super volatile balance in a game like WoW, where the goal is to figure out the new meta with each release, PA wants you to stick to a class and they're sensitive to taking away your power too quickly. This is kind of Rezlar Jones, but I think the 200% Meteor and PA nerf, this class is another step in softening the blow to Wizmains who actually love the class, and it'll have some utility and caster themes to make up for what they're about to take off Suck Wiz. This class could give those true wizard players something to roll to instead of quitting in the wake of a rebalance, and diversifies support options to ensure utility doesn't keep the siege Wiz ratio where it is now. I know my armor is blindingly white right now, but come back to this post in 6 months and see where we're at. Well, hopefully, Squirrel, you can remind us in 6 months that was your thought, because we'll forget. But it would be interesting to see. I mean, we're already a little bit leaning away from what you're saying just because Sage doesn't have utility or support. But maybe it'll make a softer landing for those who
I mean, he could be correct if it went the other direction. If they removed damage from Witch and Wizard and pushed them into a more supportive role.
True.
Whereas Sage became the more DPS heavy role. But I very, very, very highly doubt that is going to happen.
Yeah. The Musasa says, I'm happy with the new Awakening skill. Now buff moves to PvE and we're golden. It's painful that I have to use a yellow loot scroll to almost make what a warrior or hash makes in trash when they use a blue. Yep, true. Houston Cheek says, I'm thinking that the last skill they showed, the spear into dash into sky fisting. I hate that way of saying it. Spear into dash into sky fisting is part of the Awakening. Leaning toward a more melee type Awakening and mid-range suck. His story also states that he calls upon Ator's fist, so I'm thinking it is two different styles with the majority of what you see spatial lightning and only one very different skill being melee and a giant fist. Well, it ended up not being part of Awakening. It's just part of the pre-Awakening kit. But it's possible that theme is what the Awakening is for sure. Xeon Heart says, I'm wondering if Sage is the class they teased during the Winter Banquet. But given how the background image suggests an Eastern concept, I guess the teased image is not Sage. Yeah, I don't think so either now.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that as well.
Yeah, I don't know. It's is what it is. QMG Saint in chat says, minus 20 DP area of denial on S plus RMB, 10-second vacuum, and has a lot of utility. Each ability has some sort of evasion debuff or DP debuff as well. Disagree with that. Yeah, I don't agree that DP debuffs or evasion debuffs are that much utility when every single class has those and they don't stack for the most part. And the vacuum could be utility, except that it's only vacuum for 25% of this skill, and it's completely unprotected for the entire animation, and you're locked and can't move it. So it's not a skill that actually could be used. It's already difficult to use Awakening Mystic Vacuum, which actually does have good utility, and that one's fully protected. There's no way you're going to be able to use an unprotected vacuum in large scale with a bunch of damage and CCs flying around. Like, it's near impossible. And yeah, basically everyone can DP debuff now. Specifically Witch that has a minus 15% evasion debuff on a 360 AoE super armor ability that bounds. By Brian Quinn, this is a straight up straight up Doctor Strange. True. It is very Doctor Strange-esque, except with way more muscles. Like way more muscles. Lost Soul says, I like the drill idea, but the guilds need more open PvP content besides GVG, where if you want a node war, You need to place a drill and other people can stop you, but you need one drill per week, so OP Guild can't stop you all the time. They're adding more content to the desert. The game is named Black Desert. I think he means they need to add more content to the desert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That whole desert area is like, it just feels so barren. There's like nothing happening out there, and maybe this will get more people out there, but I would love more stuff in the desert for sure. Touch My Weasel says, that would be awesome if Sage was striker-based fighting with magic and awakening. I would re-roll, and just to make Rez feel bad, I hit my Tet Blackstar with a 70 stack. LOL RNG. That's toxic.
Well, that is toxic, but I'm used to it.
A 70 stack, dude. Must be nice. Aneri says, for the server channel switch thing to only be 1, 2, 3 servers, are you sure that KR even has 4, 5, and 6 servers, since the announcement is only for KR? And for example, SA doesn't have 4, 5, 6 servers. Not sure how it is in other regions either. I mean, not necessarily, yeah. I mean, that's a totally fair point. It might not. It might be for different servers. We'll see what ends up happening. Yeah, because that would be kind of nice to be able to swap between actual Hadum servers. Because right now, like, the Hadum servers, like, if 1, 2, 3 came out, like, you have what? Like, for us, like 1, 2, 3, none of the 1, 2, 3 servers are Hadum on Valencia, on Velia, on Balanos, and then only the 3 server on Medaya, Serendia, Calpheon, and yeah, that's it, are Hadum. So it'd be kind of weird. It'd be like a weird split, but I don't know. Lupix says, I love you guys, but the amount of times Rezlars says like in a sentence sometimes is hilarious.
Yeah, I say it a lot.
He says, I love you guys, but, and then says what you do is hilarious. Ion Snacks says, if people have actually played and were dedicated to games like Blade and Soul and Ion, they would truly understand how the companies just never bring up-to-date content to NA like PA does, let alone try to keep it alive or other than the shop to keep some sort of pay-to-win going. BDO in this regard is very good. While it has other issues, it is not as bad as other games. As much as we do complain about our own issues, Wizard Lamau, an issue might also come up if you give the drills oh, this is a separate idea now. An issue might also come up if you give the drills a teleport on too low of a cooldown. Might have an issue with people using ults to hit a drill, get a free teleport that could be abused for a few different reasons. Move fishing across the world instantly comes to mind. True. Yeah, so
You can
maybe
just make it to where you can't use it if you have trade items in your inventory.
Yeah. Or make it a 20-hour cooldown. And maybe just make it a week-long. You can't do it till the next maintenance if you use it once.
Maybe make it a one-time cooldown. You use it once and it's gone.
Yeah. Also, this would be more towards Frosty as he has experience with the mechanic, but how do you feel about implementing artifacts similar to those that were in Ion? Let's say every 4 hours, a few of the multiple artifacts across the map go vulnerable, allowing players to attack and kill elite mobs around, needing 6 or so people to do so. Then you are able to activate it with a 40-second cast where the player activating cannot move, and it costs the resource you dig up from the drill to activate. After activation, you get a buff, 20% drop, 200 LT, 200 to 300 HP, etc. to your guild for 8 hours. After 8 hours is when it will reset and be vulnerable again. This paired with the drills gives a good amount of extra GVG spots that aren't just purely griefing grind spots. More things you can organize across the map to try and take your guild and resource dump for what you get from the drill. I actually don't remember artifacts in Ion. I'm trying to in my head, but I legit completely forgot what artifacts were or do or how they function. That idea sounds kind of interesting, but like complicated. It sounds like that's already kind of what they're doing, but without the thing where like a single player activates the buff, I think. So yeah, I don't know. Tom Matushka says, hey y'all, whiskey is pretty great. Edit. Pearl Abyss would not have given us the tag system if their purpose was to make money by forcing rerolls. Well, I do think, I mean, I half agree with you on that, except the tag system also can generate additional money because now you probably want weight and inventory on a second class, whereas a lot of people were fine with playing one class. But I do agree, like, once the class is out, like nerfing a class and nerfing it back and whatever, like you could just tag. You don't really have to spend money anymore.
And also, they directly added a way to make money off of the tag system with the Marnie's fuel from the cash shop.
Yeah. Daz says Muscle Wizard. Yep. Optimus
Pretty much, yeah.
Optimus Phoenix Prime says more footage. Level 61, his utility is to port a group around, if I remember correctly. I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't believe that's true. He's talking about the Sage teleport to the locations. So I think there's a misunderstanding that Sage can teleport to like Histria and Kratuga and places, but they can't. You just can go through with no key, correct?
Yes, it's basically like all of those places that require something to get in. It's as if you had that item already in your inventory. That's like the easiest way to look at it.
So it's not, a lot of people are confused and they believe that the Sage can teleport to like underwater from Velia, or even further that he can teleport a party to underwater from Velia, and that's not true. What Sage can do is he can go to underwater and without a key still get into the lower zone, the abyssal zone, with no key. Same thing for Kratuga. He can go to the door at Kratuga and without the thing to get in, he can just walk right in. But he can't teleport there, and he can't bring anybody else with him.
Yep. And he also at Kratuga doesn't open the door like a normal key does. It just lets him in. It doesn't actually open the door.
So, piece of advice for anyone who doesn't tag, like Nayashe, this would probably be good for. Tag a Sage.
Yep.
And then you can just get into all 4 of those places and then just swap back to your main character and continue grinding.
Yeah, and there's a free tag. You can tag without copying your gear. Costs nothing.
Yeah, tagging is free. Gear copy is silver, but tagging is free.
So you can
People
tag your
often
hash.
forget that the tag system existed before gear copy did.
Yeah, so you play hash so you can run across the desert fast and then tag the Sage so you can get into places. So the way History and this is like the most asked question I got this whole week. The way the History and Ackman thing works, there is a quest line for each place. One, I believe, starts in Sandgrain. The other one at Ibalab Oasis. Where you do it takes about 30, 40 minutes. When you finish the quest line, it allows you to go to the Ackman node manager out in the desert, which is kind of just northeast of Crescent Shrine. Talk to the node manager there, and if you have a full completed Black Spirit Claw, you can teleport into Histria or Ackman instead of having to find a portal. So with Sage, you can walk to that NPC and port in without a Black Spirit Claw. Just so people are aware, that's how that one works. And no, he definitely doesn't port party members or really do anything like that. Will Maddow says, Frosty, based on our offline discussion, I want you on the record saying that Suck Valk is the 3rd best class in Node Wars, better than Awakened Striker, Guardians, Zerkers, Archers, Suck Rangers, Suck Lawn, Ninja, Sork. All right, on the record, publicly, Valk is the 3rd best class in Node War. I think it's comparable with Guardian, and if, like, this is what I said, I had a discussion with my guild about this. I think Guardian, you can make an argument, and I wouldn't be, like, argumentative. If someone says, like, no, Guardian is better, I wouldn't be like, you're wrong. I'd be like, that's a fair assessment. You could think Guardian's better. For me, personally, I think Valk is the 3rd best after Wiz Witch for Node Wars, because it has protected AoE damage on relatively low cooldowns, does super high damage, burst damage. It also has a ton of utility. It also has some range CCs. It has PA. It has 3 heals. It's kind of a nutty class. But again, Guardian, I wouldn't be mad if someone said Guardian, but after Guardian, I would say it's Valk for sure. Those ones are kind of interchangeable. So 3rd or 4th. It's definitely better than Awakened.
2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's definitely Suck Valk. It's definitely better than Awakened Striker, definitely better than Zerker, definitely better than Archer. Suck Ranger is weird. Like Suck Ranger is absolutely elite at obviously range damage, but you still need a core to your ball if you're going to engage, and Valk can be a core. Better than Suck Law Ninja and Sork. All right, moving on. Not everyone agrees with me on that. You're all wrong. Franks80 says, I think that PA definitely tries to make classes around popular themes at the time, like Necromancer was all the rage before they made Nova, and Ice and Scythe wielding class that has minions and drains its own life, but with Sage, they just had Doctor Strange movie night at the office, maybe. Let's say, it's possible. Alid M11 says, Archer needs help. I love the class, but I feel like it was left in the dust. Yeah, there's a lot of classes that feel forgotten right now. I assure you. There's a lot of players that are starting to feel like that. I just really wonder, like, when I close my eyes and imagine a world without Wizard and Witch, like, how does every other class feel in large scale when you're only really worried about, like, Rangers? Like, in my writing, in my little post, I mentioned Ranger, and the reason why I used Ranger as an example is because I had a lot of people tell me, like, well, you remove the range damage from Wiz Witch, like, everyone's just going to play Ranger, and there's nothing you can do. And that's true in a castle. And I think that castle design is absolute trash and should be changed. But everywhere else in the game, I don't think that that's true. Like, a Ranger, like, if I'm a ninja and I see a ball of 10 wizards standing around, I don't even want to engage it. There's nothing I can do. I'm just going to stay away from that and try to find other non-wizard witch classes. But if I saw a ball of 10 rangers standing around, it's lunch, dude. You just eat them for lunch. They're all dead. Almost all of them. And again, like, as they're defending themselves, like spamming their iframe and like trying to CC you, they're not killing everyone else around you by accident. You know? Dialed 2 says PA is shady as shit with their tickets. Almost 3 weeks, and finally, after saying fuck it, I used the Pearl item I put the ticket in for, and I kid you not, even 2 hours later, I get an email. Unfortunately, now that the item has been used, there's nothing we can do. PA customer service, and he puts an FU. That is kind of toxic. If that's actually how that went down, that's terrible. Maximum Effort says, we need to hear this balance changes you are sending the devs next podcast. Please go through them on the next podcast. I did. I read it all. Hopefully you guys aren't mad at me or hate me. Priestu says, you guys are awesome. Quality of the podcast is top notch. Rezlars and Nayashi are great, but Mr. Frosty, you are real MVP winky face. Thank you. I couldn't do it without Nayashi as my punching bag. Looney Lunatic Max Hammer says, looks G as F, Sage. I think that's good as fuck, right? And Helba says it's pay to convenience.
It is pay for convenience.
It's pay to convenience. And that is our show, man. That's all the notes. You want to close this out, Rezlar?
Sure. Thank you everybody so much for watching / listening, whether you're watching the YouTube video, listening to the MP3, or watching this live on any one of our 3 streams. Of course, Nayashi had to go a little bit early, unfortunately, but everyone who was watching on his stream as well, we appreciate you. Shout out again to the patrons. We love you guys so much, as well as everybody who supports us on our individual streams. You can check those out in the description of the video or the MP3. Twitch.tv/SoFrosty, Nayashi_NA, and not Rezlar from myself. But thank you guys again so much. Hopefully everyone is enjoying Sage, having a good one, and we'll catch y'all next week. Podcast.
Nayashi free Vel opening ceremony.
Yep, here we go.
All right, on go. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go!
Nope.
I cheered for a rainbow coral earring! My dream has come true! It happened! A rainbow coral ring, let's fucking go. I turned the sound up too for the recording. This is perfect, dude.